Good evening, everyone in Arkland. We are so excited on Friday evening, the 23rd of August, 2024, to have our special guest, John Paul Nickel, on. But first, I want to just introduce our other co-hosts. My name is Michael Day. I have to my right, I have Jag. How are you doing this evening, Jag?
Doing great. Excited to speak with Mr. John Paul Nickel.
And on Jag's right, we have Roger on ARC 47D. He had some other problems with the original and A, B, and C, correct?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Good evening, one and all.
Jag, would you like to introduce our guest?
You know him, you love him. You've seen some of his episodes from season 1 and season 2. I am extremely happy that he said yes, and he's joining us today. John Paul Nickel, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me. It is my pleasure. I'm really lucky. I love my job and really happy to talk about the show. And it makes me happy that so many other people engage with the show as well.
Well, we definitely are excited to have you and looking forward to whatever you can say about the show and the process, and kind of look into how you and the writing room write the show.
Oh,
so
definitely.
That's going to be
very happy to talk about that because every writer's room is unique. And fair warning, I can be long-winded, so tell me to shut up whenever I talk past the point.
No, that won't happen here.
Not here.
Uh-oh.
Not here.
It's going to be a long night.
We're here for it.
Yeah, let me ask the first question, then I'll pass it on. Just so people know, you were the writer of the episode that just aired on Wednesday, episode 6.
Yes.
Needless to say, we were told that 6 changed everything, and it did.
I think so. It's not like we set out to say this is going to be an episode that changes everything, but we took some really big swings, and not just the Ian of it, but also in terms of our production value and going down to a planet and our VFX that my buddy Kevin Good, who's come onto the team and did a lot of that planet stuff. So it changed our show, I think, in a lot of ways. And you tell me, but I think it was for the better.
Well, yeah, I mean, the production value this year is just phenomenal. I mean, it's been amazing, and I know. I mean, we asked Dean about. Oh, speaking of.
Oh, there he is, Kevin Good.
I'll have to throw this up right now because we were just talking about him, I believe, and then it's a little scary when they pop into the chat room.
It is. Now we have to behave.
Yeah, now we have to behave. But anyway, I'm going to get one question first. We had ARC 54. She's one of those high-end ARC numbers that haven't launched yet. A huge welcome, John Paul. I've been really looking forward to this interview. Aside from just ad magic, doesn't the ARC have the second most stories you have written after Warehouse 13 for one show?
Yes. I did. So I think I did 3 episodes of Warehouse 13, and I was on Just That Magic from the beginning, and we did 61 episodes. And this is horrible to say. I don't have the actual number in front of me, but I think I wrote 9 or 10 of them, just because I was there for the entire run. And I've written. I wrote for ARC. I wrote 4 in season 1 and 3 in season 2. So I've written 7. So maybe if we are so lucky as to have a 3rd season, and Dean and Jonathan are kind enough to have me back, perhaps the ARC will be the most I've ever written for a series. Because everything else I was on only lasted 1 season, sadly.
Yeah. Before we continue, I do see a question about seeing episode 6. Yes, I believe we will be talking about episode 6. So be aware that if you have not seen episode 6, there will be spoilers. So just wanted to kind of bring that in there. Michael, did you want to ask something else, or?
I'm going to go to just
We're getting quite a few comments. That's why.
I'm trying to grow. Let's do Marsha. Just there's a couple of just greetings. Marsha says greetings all. Hi, John Paul. What an episode. And then Susie says hi, JP.
Hi, everyone.
And whoops. And Susie, I think this is the question. Jag said, if you haven't seen 6, you don't want spoilers, I would say I would not stay, Susie. It's up to you, though, because we will be talking about spoilers in season 6. Oh, I'm
Season
getting
6.
as bad as other people. Episode 6.
Some things happen, Susie.
Yes.
I can talk here. I'll say one more thing obliquely before Susie signs out.
Okay.
Oh no, she's gone. But and talk about how this changes on a technical level. Our show, we Jonathan Glassner and Dean were kind enough to invite us to a playback of the episode for the final mix, and we watched it on a giant screen in the electric office building, and I watched it on the big screen, and it just looks so good. And I'm not trying to talk about the writing. I'm just talking about visually. It looks so good. And I turned to Jonathan and I said, are we making a promise to the audience we're not going to be able to keep in season 3 because of the previews give away the fact that we go down to another planet in this episode, and it looks so gorgeous because everything Kevin did. And Jonathan was like, nope, we're going to be able to keep this up. In terms of not necessarily what we'll do story-wise, but in terms of the quality of how we've elevated the production value. So that made me really excited to hear that from Jonathan.
No, it was a promise that they made to us when we had Dean and Jonathan here that this season 2 just upped the production value to the nth degree. And I am so happy you mentioned Kevin, because you can definitely see his amazing work.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, that's why it's called Good, his last name.
Yes, yeah.
But I wanted to, I am so excited to talk about ARC because I'm like one of the super fans out there, but I kind of want to know, I don't know too much about you. We've talked on Twitter a little bit. Can you give us a little background on how you got to start writing? How did you begin doing all this?
Sure. So, all I ever wanted to do was work in Hollywood. I am a total cliche. I am a failed actor who tried to be an independent filmmaker who fell backwards into running a real estate business out of a condo in Las Vegas. Like total cliche, right? I went to school for acting, and once I graduated, I kind of tried to live out my Hollywood dream in Pittsburgh, making independent movies. And the problem with that was it was Pittsburgh. If you want to live out your Hollywood dream, you got to do it in Hollywood. Right. And I made a couple independent films, and it got to the point where I just kind of didn't know what I was doing with my life. And meanwhile, my grandfather, who had always been super, 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 super helpful and supportive, my whole family was, but especially my grandfather, he had a couple rental properties in Las Vegas that had just fallen into disrepair, and he needed someone to go out there and take them over and just kind of help the family business. And I was just at this point in my life where I didn't know what to do. And as soon as I stepped foot in Vegas, I realized I'd made the wrong choice. And through it all, the only thing that really kept me sane was my writing. And at the time, I'd started dating my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we were long distance, and she was going to grad school at Carnegie Mellon University, and she subtly inceptioned me into grad school by sending me all these Stephen Schwartz is coming to talk today. Oh, John Wells is coming to talk. We have the John Wells Theater because he went to school here and this and that. And I was like, oh, grad school. Okay. And so I just kind of reached this point in my life where I knew I needed to do something, and I knew writing was my strength and acting was my love. And I said, well, I hadn't acted in a while. And I said, well, I'm going to apply to grad school for writing. And if I don't get in, that's the universe telling me to get my acting chops back. And I got into grad school back in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon, where my wife was going. And her program was 3 years and mine was 2. And I graduated that program with 2 off-Broadway plays under my belt, and my thesis play won an award at the Kennedy Center as part of American College Theater Festival, which then got me a fellowship at the O'Neill Playwrights Conference. And I just kind of hit the ground running out here in Los Angeles, just, neither my wife or I had any family or connections out here. It was all about who we had met through Carnegie Mellon and our showcase and keeping in touch. And it was literally just like everybody does, knocking on doors, trying to get pity coffees with people, and just trying to get that first foot in the door job as a writer's assistant, or as a writer's PA. Actually, my first thing I ever did was I was an intern, which means it's unpaid free work on Smallville season. I want to say season 7. I
Really?
did that for like 7 or 8 weeks for a quarter. I had
Wow.
to. They were like, you're not a student. I was like, I am aware I'm not a student. And they said, well, will you sign a paper saying you're a student so you can come work for free? And I said, sure. And during all that, I had made friends with Jack Kenny, who ran. If any of this is boring, please stop me. Jack was the showrunner of Warehouse 13.
Yeah.
And I had just been a fan of the show and a fan of Jack's, and Jack had been a fan of my writing. And I reached out to congratulate him. And he said, if we get a season 2, I could use an assistant. And I said, great. And very, 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 very long story short, I didn't let Jack forget that promise. And I got hired as the writer's PA for Warehouse 13 season 2. And I went from the guy who got everybody coffee to the guy who wrote the series finale. And that is all because of Jack Kenny being super supportive. He believes, much like Jonathan Glasner and Andrew Ornstein, another great showrunner I've worked with, about that nobody wants to be in these assistant jobs as a career path. They're there to learn, and you need to foster that talent. Or if they don't have the talent, train them, give them the training. And so Jack was always very good about giving the assistants a freelance script to split and then cover it on set and treat people like they were an actual staff writer getting paid for it. And I was just really lucky that freelance went so well, and that Jack invited me to be on staff the next season and then back again the following season. And so that's how I got my foot. That's like the 10 years of my overnight success, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky, and my wife and I have kind of had the anti-Hollywood experience, in that, like, yeah, we've met some jerks, but we've met some very supportive and kind people along the way who opened doors for us in ways that others, you hear stories about people that are still knocking on the door trying to get in.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky to have found such supportive people.
Yeah, I think
So
we probably should go to Roger. Roger hasn't.
Yeah.
Said anything yet,
Well,
so-
no. Did you have a follow-up, Jag?
no, just to follow up. So now that you met all those people, how did you get involved with the ARC and Jonathan Glasner and Dean Devlin?
Well, funny story, and the reason I went into a bit of a tangent about Jack Kenny and Warehouse 13, the great, great Jack Kenny, is a couple years ago I had a call from Jack saying, hey, this guy I used to work with on Falling Skies is doing a show for Dean Devlin's company, and it's not for me, but I put you up for it. And then literally, like, later that day, I got a call from Jonathan Glasner, who I'd never met, who said, are you everything Jack Kenny says you are? And I said, if the check cleared, then yeah. And I remember I was on the 134 driving through Glendale, talking with Jonathan, who I'd never met. And I mean, I knew I'd seen Stargate SG-1. He was telling me all about the show. It sounds super, super cool. I'm like, I don't have a perfect sample for it, but I have 2 samples that kind of cover the bases. I'll send them both if you want. He was like, yeah. And this was November. And then I didn't hear from Jonathan again. And I just kind of shrugged, and I thought, well, either the show didn't go or he didn't like my writing. And then in January, I shouldn't laugh. I was at a funeral, and I got an email from Jonathan saying, I'm so sorry it took me so long to get back to you. It's just, sometimes it's slow moving, getting, with the show and getting deals closed, but business affairs will be reaching out to you this week. I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay. And I called my reps, and I was like, I didn't have a meeting on this show, but business affairs are reaching out. And my manager was like, that's not happening.
He really said that to you.
Yeah. He's like, look, until there's a deal, there's no deal. My manager's a bit of a pessimist, and a really, really great guy. But he's like the negative balance, where my agent is the guy who tells me everything I want to hear. And they balance each other out really well. But he was like, yeah, there's no deal. It's like, you've never met on it. And then 2 weeks later, the room had started. So that's how, I got recommended by Jack Kenny, but how I got into but that's because of Warehouse 13 10 years ago. And, the moral of the story is when you like people, keep in touch with them because, Jack was my boss, but he was also my friend. And we kept in touch over the years and, saw each other for breakfast or lunch every couple months.
That's great. That's great. Roger, thank you so much. Go ahead, sir.
As a matter of fact, John Paul, once again, thank you for joining us. I have a few questions, maybe a tad off topic. We had Mercedes de la Cruz on with us last year a few times, and kind of messing around with several of the guests. We asked them, if you were the heavy or the main character, what would be your arc number? I had suggested to Mercedes, maybe she would want 86 because she was 86ing everyone. But then she went ahead and answered. I said, no, I am arc 1 because I'm in charge. That was Mercedes. So if you were a character on there, and maybe you do have a character, and that'll be another question, what would your number be? Because we know Michael over there is arc 2, the one that blew up.
The vaporized.
Yeah, the vaporized one. So what would be your arc number, young man?
So like if I was gonna like pop out of the warp bubble in my own arc as the captain or maybe admiral, who knows?
There you go. Yeah.
Arc 0.
Now that's mine.
Okay, I'll do.
He trumps you, Jag.
All right, arc 22. I will do arc 22.
Okay, well, we're gonna ask about that. Arc 0. Why?
Yeah, just why?
Just because there's some mystery to that, and I'm always a big fan of like. Why are these things numbered? How are the, Warehouse 13 was always about like, what were the other 12 warehouses and what was the missing thing?
Yeah.
And my buddy who watches the show, he pitched me something. He's like, you should do arc 0 and this and this and this. And I'm like, we're already doing that, but without arc 0. But I was like, oh, I'm arc 0. I'm going to remember that for if we get a season 3.
Well, and since you are the writer and the executive producer,
I'm not the executive producer. I'm the co-executive producer.
Okay.
Dean and Jonathan are the executive producers.
Okay.
I would not want to steal their magical thunder.
Their thunder. But since you are obviously the power that be above me, I will go ahead and relinquish arc 0. I'll be arc 0.
I will take arc 22. That's my birthday. So.
There you go.
Arc 22. Yeah.
Okay, that was the next question, which was good. But okay, fair enough. As a writer, there has to be, and not necessarily a spoiler or anything, but maybe from you it will be, but there's a character that speaks for you as a writer. Who is your? Oh, okay, all right. Who is that character? If wait a minute. Now, if it gives something away, then it's not my intent. But there is a character that you love writing for, and or it could be the one that speaks in your voice. In it's you if you were on the program.
Well,
I know I jumbled the question. I'm sorry.
That's a multifaceted question. I will tell you a character I love. A character I love is Trust.
Really?
I think Trust is I am a trust truther. Not that he is a good person. Not that he's a good person, but I think he's a fascinating and interesting character. I've gone on tangents about this with Yell on After the Arc. I think Trust is so much fun to write because he's arguably the smartest man in the room, but he is so flawed with his ego. He desperately wants to save humanity, which, if I ended the sentence there, is great. But he desperately wants to save humanity and be praised for it. And I think that is so much fun, and it's so interesting to write. And writing the guy who knows he's the smartest person in the room and doesn't and wants to flaunt it is just a lot of fun. But at the same time, I will say I really enjoyed writing Ian. If we can talk about 6.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
That was so much fun, and we really took, and I'm going to choose my words carefully because I don't want to go on a tangent. I'm going to try to remember exactly what is in 6 and what does not spill over into other episodes. But we really were like, how can we make him different from Lane? What's the point? Why are we doing this? How will it's going to be Reese Ritchie. He's an amazing actor. We knew we could do it, but we just wanted to make sure on the page it felt like a different character, and the whys and the wherefores. And once we clicked into this idea that what if after everything he's been through, he's just a happy-go-lucky guy, that he appreciates the fact that his life has been miserable, so that, and we say this in the scene between him and Lane. He's like, "This is the best day of my life." We, the fans of the arc, have been watching 20-ish episodes of just misery for these people.
Yeah.
But for him, what he was going through off camera was just so much worse than the 20 episodes of misery that we've experienced as fans. It's just like a joy for him because he just got a hot meal and a bath. And that's just such a fascinating character. And I love, and once in writing the scene, I don't know if it was in the outline or the scene, or maybe it was when we were breaking this room, just this idea of like, we always knew Lane had this prejudice against clones, and we knew Lane was just going to be so angry because of what's making him question about his life and this and that, everything else. Wouldn't a fun and true and unique way to do this be? That's a Lane problem. That's not an Ian problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you can be as mad at me all you want, but that's all your internal BS you're dealing with. Doesn't change the fact that from Ian's point of view, we're brothers, and I know. Okay, you didn't know your secret history, but that's look, I can't do anything about that.
That's correct. When you answered trust, though, how fun was it? How fun was it to write alternate trust? Because he's the opposite.
So I didn't write any of that episode. That was Maddie, but we did break it as a room, and that was a lot of fun to talk about. And it's a shame because one of the things, and I've seen this on Twitter, is how do you pack so much into one episode? We kind of do 3 episodes worth of story in one episode. And a good example of that is this episode 6. We could have unmasked Ian in many shows. That would have been the cliffhanger of that episode. Instead, we got all the way through another episode's worth of storytelling, which is a long-winded way of saying we broke a lot more and played a lot more with the idea of seeing even more trust in the other universe, and really playing more with the friendship between him and Bryce, which I loved this idea that this guy who Bryce hated for all his life, or the last 5-10 years, ever since the Clampkins, turns out to just be the nicest, most helpful guy over here. But there wasn't, unfortunately, room for all of that. And there's hints of it definitely in this idea that he tried Clampkins on him, or not. He tried the decarbonization, so he's the only one who suffered from Clampkins, and he's generally a good husband, and he's helping out. So I thought that was fascinating and fun, and I hope it was fun for Paul Murray, who plays Trust as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of contact with the cast because we shoot over in Serbia, but But it was a fun idea to go, and there are absolutely no plans to go back, but I would love to go back to the alternate universe and see more of Nice Guy Trust.
Yeah.
Let me get some more. We were way behind on the chat room, which is my fault.
I told you. No, I told you.
But anyway, Phil, I think this was directed at Kevin. Great effects job.
Yes.
And then Sarah says, "Hi from a Twitter friend. Love live tweeting with you."
Hi, Sarah. Sarah's always on Twitter for the show. So hi, Sarah. I just want to make sure we say hi to her.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah.
And our mega fan from Australia, Nathan, says, "Morning, everyone. Your resident gift maker is in the house."
Thanks for waking up early to come to the chat.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's it's 9 a.m.
9 a.m. over there for him, I think.
Yeah. And Nick Norris. Yeah, when I made my little slip, season 6 is official. Yeah, right.
Totally.
Yeah, episode 6 is official, not season 6. Okay. OMG, you made. Elizabeth says you made. What made you think of Lane being a clone so perfect? Turned our world upside down and sideways.
Honestly, this all came about. It's people on Twitter were like, they're going to do a Garnet clone. They're going to come back to her sister or another sister. And we did talk about that at one point. We always knew we were going to find a ship of, not always, but at some point early on, we're going to find a ship of clones. And there was a lot of talk about it being Garnet because it just seemed the obvious because she's a clone. But rewind back to season 1, the end of season 1, I I am sometimes a conscientious objector in the room. I was not a fan. I was not the biggest fan of Lane redeeming himself at the end of season 1. I
Mm.
liked Lane better as a villain. I thought he was much more interesting as a foil to Garnet and an opposing force. And once we redeemed him, I really felt, not that I have any authority, but my conscientious objector was like, what do we do with this guy? Now that he's a good guy and he's always on Garnet's side, how can we do to make it interesting? And so when we were talking about the clone stuff, at some point it came up, well, what if the clone wasn't Garnet? What if it was Lane? And how would that make Lane so much more interesting? Because he's going to question his past. He's going to be so angry about this. I always said Lane, when he was poopy pants or had to stick up his ass, was the most interesting Lane. And Ian was going to stick the stick back up his ass. And I mean, you guys can be the judge on how well that works out. But I think it just made it so much more fun. And Reese is such a good actor to be able to do both those parts.
Yeah.
No, he is.
Yeah, and Marcia asked, we're talking about that was a game changer. Do writers ask to write certain episodes, or are they assigned, or is it kind of a mixture? I'll add that.
So every writer's room is unique. On Warehouse 13, the episode you pitched was the episode you wrote, generally. Unless you happen to pitch like 5 home runs, you're not going to get 5 episodes and it'll get assigned to somebody. On our show, on the Arc, we mostly rotate, and it is assigned by Jonathan, but it is mostly a rotation. I mentioned this on Twitter. Episode 6 was the first episode we did coming back from the strike. The strike ended on a Sunday. I think the work ban was lifted at midnight Tuesday into Wednesday, when we were back Thursday, and we were shooting in, I think, 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we didn't know what the rest of the season was going to be. And we were breaking this episode, and Jonathan was really pushing about, we're going to a planet and the VFX, something like, I don't know how we're going to do this. I didn't know we had Kevin at that point. And I just assumed Jonathan was writing it. We all assumed Jonathan was writing it because it was the first episode back from, I almost said the break, from the strike. And we'd all written an episode. So if the rotation had continued, Jonathan was the next one up. And I was running the board, the writer's room board. Normally, we have whiteboards and we write everything down, which is my preferred way of doing things. I said the man with no authority. But what we do here was we did on National Treasure. It started over COVID. There's this program called Writer's Room Pro, which is, it's all digital and it's not as fun. But I was running the board thinking, I thought I was helping out Jonathan because he's, showrunner and doing so much, and, he's talking, I'm just, going through and playing with it to help keep it in order. And at one point he looked at me and he said something, and I said something back like, I don't know, boss, you got to write it. And he was like, no, you're writing this one. I was like, oh, I think I know what it was. We'd finished breaking the episode, and what we normally do is once we have the episode broken, we will go through whoever's writing it and we'll pitch it out. Just read the cards to make sure whoever's writing it has a grasp on it, but then we're all listening to it with fresh ears and we'll chime in. And I think we had finished the board and we were ready to break it, and it's time to read back through. And I think it was something like me saying, like, John, do you want to do it? Because you're writing it. And he's like, oh, I'm not writing this one. So immediately I had to pay much more attention to what was happening. Ironically, the same thing happened with the finale last year, the season 1 finale. I thought I wasn't writing any more episodes, and we were pitching all this big stuff. And I'm like, sure, Jonathan's good. If it makes sense to Jonathan, you plan it, rotate. Yeah, sure, it'll work. And then he dropped the bomb if you're writing it. And I was like, oh. Because you're in the room and, we're all kind of spinning our own little plates, and we know what our responsibilities are. And there's sometimes where you're just like, I don't know how it's going to work. But, as writers, WP or WO, depending on your point of view, writer's problem or writer's opportunity, which is perfectly fine because I when I get my scripts, I like to figure things out and make it all work, and I don't rely on the room to get every little minutia done. But I was very taken aback that I got not only the first episode back after the strike, but also when it was going to introduce this new character, and also all the planet stuff. It was really the planet stuff that was worrying me, because I thought, oh, this is all we're gonna hear back. We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. It's all gonna be late night rewrites because of what we can't do. And to the credit of everybody on the team, we found out a lot of what we could and couldn't do in the outline stage. We write, we'll write it on the board to break it out. And then we write a 10-page outline, which is essentially a pitch document for everybody to approve, including the people at Sci-Fi, to give notes on before we go to script. And sometimes production will get a look at that. So in the outline stage, there were things happening like this was sort of like an unformed planet, and geysers were exploding, and Lane was going to grab Garnet and save her, and that uncomfortably close face to face, all that fun stuff, and eventually got to go back to what we could do. And by we, I mean Kevin, because I see Kevin in the chat here saying, "It's all me. It's all me. We're not a team. It's all me."
Yeah, I decided not to post that yet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know it's all you, Kevin. Yeah. Kevin says, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
He just says no.
Yeah. Now, Biscuit, somebody new. I don't remember having them in our chat room before. You guys really pack a lot of entertainment into one episode. A whole lot of story gets told in a single episode, and that is so true with episode 6 in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned it on Twitter. So how did you do that?
I'm not gonna lie, it ain't easy. And there are times, just like we were talking about in the alternate universe, meeting good trust and wanting to spend more time with good trust. Sometimes it is just an exercise in economy and fitting in as much as you can in an economical way. And because we overbreak, we overstuff the episodes, but I also think it's part of the charm of our show. We just burn through story. To the point where, any other series, I don't want to say any other, but many other series, the coup last year and episode 9, that would have been the finale. Or it would have stretched out over 3 episodes, ending on some crazy cliffhanger. And I know other episodes would have done it because I watched Snowpiercer, which is a fantastic show, which all ARC fans should be watching, by the way. They're sort of like our dark mirror image in a way. And it's great because nobody else in the writer's room watches Snowpiercer. So I'm always able to be like, on Snowpiercer, they did this, but here's how we can do our version of it. Mm-hmm. Except I leave out the on Snowpiercer, they did this. I'm like, what if?
Arc 54 says, I really like that you included the Remember Earth box and have a little bit of Richard playing the guitar. That was a perfect touch. Any background you can say about that, or?
Totally. I think I'm allowed to say this. Richard, who I don't know, but I've heard is a generally amazing guy, wrote a little song to edit together photos from season 1, behind the scenes photos of the cast, and wrote a little goodbye song, like, hey, it was fun and I hope we get a season 2. And I guess he is a very talented West End musical theater actor. So we knew he could sing. We knew he could play instruments and play guitar. And Dean came in one day and told us all this and showed us the video with the song he had written for the cast. And he said, we got to find a way. We got to find a way to get him to sing. And we knew pretty early on we were going to go back to Arc 3. And we're like, maybe Arc 3, maybe there was like a piano in their observation deck. And then we went back and looked through the footage and saw that we couldn't do it. It wasn't there. And eventually it was probably Jonathan who came up with the Remember Earth box, and that there could be a guitar in there for him to play. And everybody got so excited by that. And I got so excited by the Remember Earth box because I thought that is going to be so helpful going forward for 7 seasons in a movie when we need some little random thing that shouldn't have been on Arc 1. Mark my words, it's going to be in that damn box.
Speaking of the box,
it's what we call cheating.
Yeah. And Marcia asked, related to that, How are the items in the Remember Earth box chosen? Or didn't you have much to do with that? That was
the specific items that people picked. We talked about in the room about what would be fitting for them. But then as far as everything else that was in there, that was as I understand it, just our props department filling what they wanted to. But I'm sure, I mean, Jonathan does. This is a little different from. I mean, again, every show is different. Jonathan handles all the tone and production meetings for the show because he's worked with this crew so long back from the Outpost days, and you know he's used to getting up at 4 a.m. to go on these Zoom calls when in Serbia it's noon or what have you. So I'm sure Jonathan. I'm sure things were vetted for Jonathan to approve as well.
Of course.
Yeah. Let me do one more. Sarah says, I loved what you nicknamed Lane in this week's After the Arc.
I haven't watched what they did in
what they decided to put on.
After my 2 hours of rambling, how they cut it down to 5 minutes of cogency.
I think it's Poopy Pants. I think it's the reference.
Oh yeah, he's Lieutenant Poopy Pants. I say that in the room all the time. Or I did season 1. I miss Lieutenant Poopy Pants so much because he gave us so much conflict and drama. You know, we as people we have this urge where we want to complete these arcs and make everybody get along. But once we do that, it kind of becomes uninteresting television.
Correct. Well, I have a question I've been wanting to ask you since season 1 that you may just say, hey, it's not a big deal, but I just find it so cool that you use whatever the script, whatever character, use that as a title for the episode. So how do you guys come across writing the episode and then deciding what the name of the episode is based on what you wrote for that character?
So that came about, that was Dean and Jonathan saying, let's do that. Because when we were getting pretty close to production, Dean had written the pilot before the writer's room started. And I guess for some technical reason, as production was starting, we actually really needed a name for the episode. And so that's how that came about. And then generally, what will happen is somebody will write their script. They'll pick their 4 favorite lines, and on that, so we'll write our script, and then we'll pass it around to the writer's room to give notes, and we'll put our 4 favorite. The writer will put their 4 favorite lines on the title page for all of us to vote on, and then sometimes somebody will be reading and be like, "Yeah, you got a better one in here, and it's this," and occasionally. I am a jerk and will not put options and will just put what I want for the title. I did that for the finale last year. Everybody Wins. I thought it was, I liked it. It was a trust line. And I just liked it because it ended in sorrow. And I really was trying to find a way to make Everybody Loses a title this year in Counterpoint, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
And the finale this year, I just picked the title because I just had one I liked, and nobody challenged me on it. And by nobody, I mean Jonathan or Dean, because they can say what they want.
Well, I do like that. That's kind of a little game of try to find where the title is in the script. I like that. The other thing I was going to say, when I did see Everybody Wins as a title, I thought it was going to be this nice glory, everybody kumbaya, they all went to the planet, they're all like having a campfire, you know, everybody's having fun. And then we had the big ass explosion of the planet. So it was a nice little kind of shift that, you know, we thought it was going to be fun, and, you know, everybody had a campfire, you know, singing, you know, songs and stuff, and it was complete opposite. That was a good choice.
I will say thank you. I will say for this episode, for 6, couldn't figure out a title to save our lives, and Jonathan was like, it should be this. Yeah. Because everything just felt kind of eh. And then I talked about this a little on After the Arc. I had originally written episode 2, which got split into episode 2 and 3. And then searching for those titles became tough because what was originally going to be the episode 2 title, that line got deleted in the shuffle. And so those were really tough titles to come up with. I wanted to do a bumpy ride at one point because that was going to be the middle of episode 2 when they get the FTL going and the lights dim, and it was like, it's going to be a bumpy ride. but yeah, sometimes they're super easy and sometimes they're really tough, like a Museum of Death.
Right.
Obvious. Apparently, I voted for The Other You, or I came up with The Other You, which I don't even remember doing in the room, but Maddie was telling me. I think that was one of those ones where Maddie had 4, and someone who was apparently me said, I think The Other You might be a better title. But I have no memory of that.
It's okay. Roger,
The
did
other
you-
thing is,
Yeah, Roger,
oh,
you
go
had
ahead.
something, yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
oh,
Finish
I
up.
was just going to say, the other thing is, like, I'm so happy to be talking about this, and I love the show so much. At the same time, we finished in January, and we're talking about episode 6, which we wrote last August,
Yeah,
October.
it's a year
So
ago.
a little bit of the pre-strike stuff was last April.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It
Roger, do you
amazes me.
have something to ask?
John Paul, I wanted to comment. I always brag about the fact that when we review the program, I'm always taking notes. And just before Lane, the mask was taken off, I had written Lane's dad. I thought that's who it was going to be. And then when it turns out to be him, I looked at my notes. I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I just marked
Good.
the line through it. And
good.
you had
we want you to be surprised.
I was genuinely surprised. I thought it was well done. I had no idea about you guys doing the whole thing about the clones, which was excellent. But I did. Look, I'm guessing a lot, but this is the first time that I actually uttered it out loud. I wrote it, and it didn't come to pass.
You don't have to
So-
take notes. You could just watch and enjoy.
I do, but we review, and
Not
I
when
do,
we review
Yeah,
the show.
but we
No,
review the program
yeah.
on Sunday. So if you really want to hear the review, that's going to be this Sunday. But don't want to put you on the spot. But no, all kidding aside, there was another question, and it had to do with Bryce, and it had to do with the fact of how he's perceived. But I'm going to get back to that one in a bit. Going back to Lane now, we've seen the alternate universe Lane, which was another. Have we seen 3 Lanes now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
We've
That's
seen 3 Sharons too, kind of. Well, I mean, we saw. her sister.
yeah. You're right. Yes, we have. Okay. No, that's fair. That's good. I wanted to know if I could revisit it. Who is the character that speaks for you? Who is you on the show? Have we not seen them yet?
I mean, I really enjoy writing for Trust. I like giggle.
Okay,
when I
yeah,
write for
you
Trust,
do.
but I will say I do enjoy Bryce as well with his
Yes.
one-liners, and it's so interesting.
Oh, yes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I remembered because of Bryce. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't seem to be the most deep individual there is. He's a good guy, but I don't think he's, a heavy thinker. I did appreciate when he said, look, I know we're supposed to move fast, but guys, take a moment and take in the view. That was cool, man.
Of the planet.
Thank
Of
you.
the
We're on the
planet,
freaking
It's
planet.
funny. We didn't talk about that moment in the room when I was writing the script, and I just thought, oh, wait a second. This, we as viewers and as writers were trained on Star Trek and going to other planets and stuff. But for these people, oh, what a cool moment. And I said this on Twitter, like, you shouldn't write towards like a preview moment. But I thought, oh, if they get it's Richard. He's going to knock it out of the park like he does every line. And if they shoot it right, this is going to be in all the trailers. And he knocked it out of the park. We shot it right, and it was in all the trailers.
Yeah.
So it really made me happy. It's funny. I'll watch an episode and I get anxiety because I've seen all the dailies, but it's been a while, and I've seen cuts. Or I shouldn't say an episode. I watch a cut, and I'm just like, what made it in? What these little moments, you start falling in love with all these moments that you hope really work, and when they do work, you get excited, and when they don't work, you kind of kick yourself. And don't work is probably the poor way of saying this, but not quite working as well as you had hoped, maybe, and no one's going to notice but you.
And that we get and that we appreciate. And please don't take my comment as that Bryce is a dim light bulb. No, I didn't mean that. It's just I don't take him as being that.
He's not
deep.
the smartest.
But
He's not
is
the captain.
a navigator.
He's a navigator.
Yeah, so there is skill there.
But, I mean, I'm sure the computer's helping him a lot. I mean, I used to joke. that Ava is kind of the worst engineer in the galaxy in terms of everything that goes wrong, especially in season 1, to the point where Jonathan looked at me and he was like, "You don't like the show, do you?" And I was like, "No, I love the show, but let's be honest. Ava's not the. There was a reason she wasn't the chief engineer when they went into stasis."
Yeah, she wasn't in the other stasis pods.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, way to crystallize what the 15ers are looking for. I think that also threw the audience, John Paul, because we weren't certain when they said, "Okay, we've got to find that other lieutenant." Okay, that's still out there, but these guys are like the ones in Battlestar Galactica. Forgive me. Remember after New Caprica, these are the ones that were going after the people that turned traitor on the colonies, and they were exacting justice, and that's the way I kind of equate it.
with the Eastern Federation.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Eastern
Yes,
Federation hunters.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and
a
that's
little bit.
oh my God, that's what I named them, the EF Hunters. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I know you can't say much about that, but I am so excited to learn more about the EF.
Yes.
You will be learning more about Kimmy and Lottie and what they want, and you will learn more about the Eastern Federation. I think those are promises we've made that we will fulfill this season. Let me rephrase. We will fulfill the answers to those questions this season. But I when I say I think they're promises, like the fact that you guys are interested in what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have a huge audience that is. Sorry, Michael.
We had Kimmy on already, and I mean that was a wonderful chat we had with her, with Diane, with
what a great addition! What a great addition to the cast she's been.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she was. And by the way, you mentioned After the Arc a couple of times already through the show. Anybody's not watching After the Arc, you need to watch After the Arc. Just the amount of information that you get, the insights, and just the background. For example, the reason I put on my subtitles "Trapped on Planet Raynick" is that is actually the planet named after your grandfather, and that he was a major supportive person behind you. So when I was watching one of the After the Arc episodes, there was a shot, I think in one of the earlier episodes, of you guys in the writing room. And one of the things I saw, and I'm not a writer, so I'm a 5-year-old, please forgive me, is all the cast on the wall and their pictures, their deal. Curious, maybe everybody knows except me, what was that for? What does that help you guys do?
When we can't think of something, we just stare at them and hope they speak to us. Every writer's room I've been in, just about all of them, we do that. And sometimes it's helpful that we put so much into these episodes. It's so much story. We have such a large cast that sometimes it's helpful to just look at the board and be like, who haven't we serviced this episode? Who has not appeared? Who doesn't have as good of a story? Or Angus is going through this thing. What can we do? Oh, Strickland hasn't done anything, so maybe we can fold Strickland into Angus's story, and it'll be interesting because Angus doesn't know how to throw a punch, and Strickland can be a tough guy or something. I don't know. I'm not referencing any specific story. I'm just kind of pulling things out of my butt. So that's what it's just. So we're like I said, we're spinning so many plates. We're juggling so many balls. To just remember everybody you have, which I know sounds silly. I know someone out there is here listening to this being like, it's your job to know who's on your show. But sometimes we get so in the weeds on a particular story. Like this one, going down the planet and everything. And that's really the meat of the episode. But Angus isn't going down to the planet. Alicia's not going down to the planet. We can't forget that we need to do something that has to be I don't know if the word's as interesting, but something interesting and worthy of having these wonderful actors on the show and doing something cool with them. I know, Trust and Samantha Glasner, Kelly, I think they're down to one scene in this episode. We had 3 scenes with them at one point, and we just didn't have room, and we just can't forget everybody that we've, again, contract with the audience, everybody that we're here to see.
Correct. No, I just thought it was cool. I had a feeling that was it, but I didn't know there was maybe another underlying thing. Before I forget, there's a Nick Norris asking if the After the Arc is available online. If you go to electricnow.tv, you'll be able to watch those episodes of After the Arc for free. So, of course, we encourage you to create an account. It's free, but you're able to go there, and that's where I watch personally my After the Arc viewing. And just because we see a lot of John Paul Nickel on those episodes as well.
Some
And
might argue too much.
no, but we get that's why I
No.
asked Roger. I'm sorry, I didn't ask Roger. I asked Michael. I said we need to get Mr. Nickel on because there's just so much I want to talk to him about. And so I guess I'm going to take it back to Michael. You got a question or anything?
Well, no. Well, this is something that you told me the other day, and I think this is what they're referring. It's another Nick thing. The eyes, the eye gave.
I saw that
for me, and Jag said the same thing. He said he saw those eyes and he went, oh, "That's lame." So,
well, we failed.
No.
And you don't get to be surprised.
No. It was, and I even tweeted.
We tried.
If you saw it when I tweeted, I said,
Yeah.
"Oh my!"
Yeah.
I mean, in uppercase,
Yeah.
a lot of it. You got me. I mean, y'all got me.
Yeah.
But it was just
You
like
did.
a nanosecond right before the reveal. I just said,
Mhm.
"I think it's," and it came out. So
It was
got me.
so much fun watching Twitter. It was so much fun. And there's going to be a couple more episodes like that. And by the way, I was so happy that this was not given away in the promos.
Oh, yes.
yeah, that is so true.
Yes.
So happy. And there's a
You
couple
wrote
more
about that,
episodes.
too.
Yeah, that you're going to want to watch live this season.
Yeah.
Or stay off the internet until you watch.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that between that and all the other intrigue that we were all going crazy about with Angus isn't in any of the promo pictures.
Oh, that was so well done.
I mean, oh my, I was just
man.
dying.
We were crushed.
I don't think I'm talking out of school to say this, and if I'm fired, then I'm talking out of school.
It's our fault.
There were other people that we were not originally going to put on the cast photos as well, on the posters and material, and someone somewhere said, "No, you're putting them on because they're fan favorites."
Yeah.
And I believe that was a sci-fi mandate, but I could be very wrong about that. But yeah, we wanted to keep it even more close to the vest. But I understand they got to get, they want to make people excited and tune in for season 2. You don't want to say, "Oh, they killed all my favorite characters and I'm not coming back."
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at another comment right beneath that one. Crushed isn't the word. Yeah. That is so true. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm going to go to this one before we go
Okay.
back to Roger or Jag. If writers, let's see, if writer's brain transplanted a character into a new body played by you, who would it be?
So if I could get to play any character on the show,
Yes, that's what I'm assuming that means.
Trust Junior?
I totally want to play Trust. I would totally want to play the smartest man on the ship. I would love to play Bryce, because when would anybody ever cast me as an action hero?
You're funny.
Also, I've had a lot of fun writing Marsh, especially in the early episodes.
Yes.
Marsh kind of evolves this season, but my take on Marsh, initially, you can see this in episode 2 and 3, he's just a guy who doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm just here to save lives, and I don't have time for any of your drama or BS. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, with the Alicia. Yeah, he's my boyfriend, and this is. I really don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, John Paul too. I mean, we can put in a word. We've already talked about we needed a Jonathan Glassner action figure.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about doing the JP or John Paul action
Nickel
figure
action
too.
figure
You know,
too. But then, with the writing,
I'm hoping you're going to be able to attend, but I know you probably can't.
A laptop in one hand and a bottle of scotch in the other.
Yeah.
Hoping. Sorry, you were saying hoping I was going to attend
Electric Con. I'm hoping. I'm just saying. I know you can't say anything because it hasn't been official.
I can say I literally know nothing. In all honesty, I've not been approached in any way, shape, or form. But I'm sure if enough people demand it, perhaps.
And it begins today.
I literally, like, I know as much about Electric Con as you guys do. I would love to go down. My assumption, and this is really just my assumption, is, I probably don't rate in comparison to the gorgeous and talented actors across the electric platform.
Bye, Nick.
But
Thank you for
but I
joining
would
us.
happily go down and ramble.
Yeah.
Oh, John Paul, please don't even think that.
Yeah.
In many conventions, writers are a big deal at the conventions. I don't
They
know if you've
are.
been to a few. It is absolutely awesome that that you're on this, and maybe you'll get a chance to go. We understand there's a lot of issues involved, but we would love for you to be there.
At Dean Devlin on X, or
Jag?
I would happily go down.
Yeah, there it is. And we've been asking everyone deliberately. We found out that Mr. Devlin and Mr. Glassner actually do watch our episodes, and we were like stunned beyond measure.
Hi, boss.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we said it during the first season. I kept saying, "Oh my goodness, that wasn't smart of me." Now Mr. Glassner won't be on, and turns out he was watching, and he still ended up being on. But I got to tell you, it's been terribly exciting seeing all of this and where we are, and we can't wait to what's coming up, man. It's just
it's exciting that you guys care and you want to do this. I mean, I've worked. It's the reason of the writers we've been live tweeting, those of us that can, is because in this world of streaming, and everything's dumped at once, and there's no more appointment television. It's just fun to get. It's a dopamine hit to see that people responding in real time and enjoying it and engaging. I think Warehouse 13 probably was the last. Well, I did a cop show for NBC, but it was a perfectly fine show, and I worked with lovely people, but I don't think people are live tweeting like SUV, or maybe they are, and I just didn't realize at the time. But it's so cool that you guys do these podcasts and you're engaged and you want to know what's going to happen. And I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know what's going to happen in season 3.
Well, John Paul, if I may, everyone here knows that we are blown away, not only by you being here and the executive producers, creators. No, it is. This is your time that you're giving to us. What blows us away is your knowledge, obviously being a writer, but everyone else that joins us, from Christy Burke to Jessica Yemi, they know so much about their characters and the season. They're playing in the sandbox with us. John Paul, that blows us away, man. I mean, it does.
We're very lucky. We work with really talented people, and they really, really care. And it's funny too, because we're very traditional television in terms of we're getting these scripts done with a few weeks before we shoot, and we always try to get ahead as much as possible. But that our actors can tap dance and pivot, and Reese didn't know Ian was coming until, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks before we shot.
Oh wow!
And that's, imagine that as an actor. You're going to get sure, it's a gift for him, but at the same time, that's a lot of work to come up with that, and for Jonathan to just be emailing and being like, we're kind of doing this thing and this and that, and to not even have the full script. And then when you get the script, it's going to change for production and stuff. And our cast is fantastic, and I hope to meet them one day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let me ask this. So it sounds like you have not been to Serbia, at least when they've been filming.
Unfortunately not. I was actually, ironically, so I would say traditionally writers go to set to cover set. However, in a post-COVID world, as belts are tightening and budgets are shrinking, writers are going to set less and less. And it's funny because I've gotten jobs off being the set guy. The show I did for NBC a few years ago before COVID, they hired me because the showrunners had kids and didn't like to go to set. And I was like, I love going to set. And it's happening less and less. And I was going to go out on my own dime this year because I was going to be, this sounds so highfalutin, I was going to be on the other side of the world for something entirely different. My wife's a costume designer, and she was speaking at a conference in India. And when that conference was ending, I was going to meet her in that area. And because we were on the other side of the world, and the finale was going to be shooting, I was like, Dean, Jonathan, do you mind if I swing by. And they were so excited and gracious, and because they could have said no, they don't need me there. Because Jonathan directed the finale. I don't think that's a spoiler. So Jonathan, so they didn't need anybody covering set. And unfortunately, my wife caught a parasite in India that I then caught. So I was not able to. I was so upset and so devastated. So this is another reason why we need a season 3, so that I can cash in some miles and go to Serbia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, by the way,
go to Electricon.
Yes, that's right. And we made that clear to the audience. Hopefully they will. I have a final technical question before I hand it back to my co-host. You on your IMDb, you've had a few other titles, and I don't know how much the audience knows, but could you tell us, because you've been a story editor, I believe you're officially a staff writer, correct?
I am officially a co-executive producer on the show.
A co-executive producer. Could you give us a brief synopsis on what the different types, because you also said you ran the board as well, the whiteboard.
on that particular episode.
Generally,
okay, whoever's writing their episode knows they are going to be writing it, and they run the board themselves. This episode 6, we all just assumed Jonathan was going to be writing it, but I was stepping in to be helpful because Jonathan, as the showrunner, is so busy. That was unique, but generally people know what they're going to write and generally run the board. To your question, though, and I'm trying to. Every show is different.
Yeah.
So, and every show works differently. But the titles, an entry-level writer is given the title of staff writer. And then it's almost like ranks in the military. The next level up is, what is the next? Staff writer, story editor, executive story editor, co-producer, producer, supervising producer, co-executive producer, and then executive producer being showrunners.
Wow, there it is.
And it's like, and there's also, sometimes you'll see consulting producer, and consulting producer generally means it's sort of like it's
guest actor,
kind of like they've got a sweet deal. Maybe they're only coming in 2 days a week, or maybe they couldn't fit. Maybe they couldn't meet that writer's quote, and so as not to bring down their pay scale on another show, they're giving them this other title, consulting producer. But every show is different. Every show is run differently, and these titles usually, what's the word I'm looking for, are an indication of someone's level of experience and perhaps how much responsibility they will be given on the show. Now, on our show, because there are only 4 of us in the room, which includes Jonathan, and plus we have our amazing writer's assistant, James DeLorean, who wrote episode 9. Because there's only 4 of us in the room, there's not a lot of responsibility to be delegated. We're all just kind of, we're all on the team. We're all just trying to break story. Occasionally, when Jonathan and Dean are in a meeting, I might run the room. But run the room means there's only 3 of us, including myself, BSing about what an episode could be or what a plot point is. So it's not like on something like Just That Magic we were talking about before, or on the I think I was kind of the number 3 on that show. One season I was the number 3, and so there were times I was running the room and there was like 7 of us or 8 of us in the room, and it's sort of a different level of responsibility. And we shot in Los Angeles, so we go and cover set and stuff like that. But my rank as co-EP here is almost in a way an honorarium, because I'm not necessarily doing all the traditional co-EP jobs of like covering set, because set's on the other side of the world.
But based on what
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and I think it's going to help the audience as well. And you definitely helped me on that end. It may be an honorarium, young man, but it's well earned, especially
Yeah.
after episode 6. So
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from anyone else. And Michael?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm thinking we probably have the rest in the writer's room already booked for our show. And I think,
Oh, fantastic.
because we have India coming.
Oh, great. India's amazing.
We have
Madeline?
We have Madeline.
Also amazing.
September 23rd.
And we just got Mr. DeLorean.
Oh, good. I told him not to be a butthead.
Is that everybody? Or are we
because James was like, I don't know if I want to speak. I'm like, James, just do it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you told me. Yeah.
Is he coming on? Is he coming on?
He's coming. I think the 15th. I think the 15th.
So that's after his episode airs.
That's what we tried to do. Yes, we tried to do after his
give
episode.
Him a hard time. I mean, give him so much love. He is great. He's our writer's assistant, and he can talk, I'm sure, more about what he does in the room. But Jonathan and Dean were kind enough to give him a freelance script, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term for the writer's room.
I am, yes. But yeah, would you explain it?
Per WGA rules, and the rules are a little murky, but generally, depending on what season a show is in, the episode count, and the budget, one script must be given to someone who is not on the writing staff. And this is a way to foster new talent and to give people opportunity. And I think technically our show doesn't have to, based on our budget. I could be wrong about that, but James was here from day one, season 1, and gave and definitely earned his script and just, again, like everything, we break it as a room. And I will say, James kind of knew he was getting a script, but James will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. I don't think we told him it was going to be this episode until after we broke it, so that all of us could get it as in ship shape as we could on the board, and say, all right, James, go be amazing. And he came back and he was amazing. He knocked it out of the park. He was fantastic. Somebody should hire him full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is good to know. Yes. Michael, we've got quite a few likes.
Yeah. Oh, we do. Yes. And we're
very
happy with it. Yeah. Can you go ahead and do the
folks
for me?
Susie Bonebreak, Elizabeth Olivia Cooper, Nick Norris, Andy, is it Skihan? I'm sorry for
Andy Skihan? Wait, Andy Skihan.
He liked this episode, yes.
And so, wait, Andy Skihan, are you in the chat? Are you Andy from Harmerville Cinemas? So,
wow.
I cut back to Andy used to be
sometimes they don't talk in the chat room. They just lurk. We have a lot of those.
Based on our number count, we have figured that 10 to 15% of the people viewing will leave a comment. And it just drives us insane. But yes, we did get that one. I don't know when it was, but Andy, actually, that's a newer one. And then also Randy Landers also gave us a like. So Andy, if you're still in here, please comment in the chat room.
I was an usher at a movie theater back in the day, and Andy was
oh my goodness.
Awesome, Andy. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So he came to visit. Oh
yeah, thanks, Andy.
Well, that's just as crazy. Amazing. When we had Alicia character, her high school drama teacher came in the chat room.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So Stacy was just like blown away. It was like, that's my high school drama teacher.
Yeah, someone you haven't seen in 20 years.
Yeah.
Since I was 5.
Yeah.
Now,
that's great.
There's a phrase in Hollywood of this day was a movie magic day. For us, when she showed up and we made the connection, took about 15 minutes. And then both of them she was over back home. I forget the country where she's from. Zimbabwe. It took 15 and she joined up.
She joined on the podcast.
It was a movie magic day for us. It was. Oh my goodness. And we were lucky. We were lucky because she was on and we had that. So darn it, man. I wish I would have seen when he liked it, Andy Skihan. Wow. Yeah. And we don't have a comment in the chat room.
No.
They may have been here.
Yeah, Kevin's here. And it's the time when Kevin puts his kids down to sleep. So it's nice of Kevin to show up. And I think James DeLorean might be lurking. might be listening. He
It's
mentioned
very
he was
possible.
trying to
Yeah.
tune in.
We always announce, folks, there's still time. Everyone in the chat room, please let us know a little belatedly who you are and where you hail from. Go ahead and comment in the chat room. You know that Nathan, who said he'd love to go to Serbia, he's from Perth, Australia. Way out there,
Wow.
yes. And he's been here at 3 a.m. his time, and now 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. his time now. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Nathan. I love Australia. I've been to Melbourne twice. I had films in a film festival down there, and I adored Australia, and I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, he tries to come as much as he can. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was in Vietnam one time
Yeah,
on vacation.
he was on
And he
vacation.
still joined us.
That is a fan.
That is
You're all
your work.
fans. To be fair, everyone here is a fan. Everybody taking the time to come
Yeah.
and comment, even if they're not commenting, just to take the time and watch. How kind of all of you. Time is our most valuable resource. So if you're sharing your time with me and with us and our
Absolutely. We're
show,
so happy
it
that
means
you're
the
sharing
world.
your time with us. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you guys are sharing your time to tune in, to watch, to comment, to put on a podcast for people on a Friday night or Saturday morning somewhere to come and tune in and hear me ramble. I mean, it just means the world to
Oh, yeah, you're
all
not
of us.
rambling. I want to go back. I know we're short on time, but you commented
I'm here
about
all night.
watching the program and then seeing the results on Twitter when it's live. Let me go back a little bit, because this wasn't always the case. When did it change for you when you're like, wow, the dopamine, you said kicks in it, but when did that change hit you like, wow, this is unreal?
Oh, for the arc, 100% for the arc.
Oh, wow.
We tweeted a little bit for Warehouse 13, and I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it too much, and I was a baby writer, I was a staff writer, so I didn't have a lot as much input or say or stamp as I may or may not have now. And then for Just Add Magic, we did 61 episodes, and I mean, it was a great show. It was ostensibly a children's show, but the writers all came in and were like, we're not making a kids show. We're going to do a serialized mystery where if you miss one episode, you are screwed. But it dropped in 13 episodes on, a weekend in January once a year. So there wasn't anything to like tune in. We didn't even kind of like get together for watch parties. And then, like I said, after that, there was this NBC show, but it never even occurred to me that people might want to tweet about. I mean, it was a good show and I worked with good people, but it was a procedural cop show. You could kind of guess they're going to catch the killer at the end of the episode, and there was no real mystery. And then National Treasure was the same thing. It would dropped once a week, but it's on Disney Plus, so people are going to be watching at midnight, 3 a.m., whatever. So this is the first episode since Warehouse 13, which Warehouse 13 was 10 years ago. Remember what Twitter was, or X, or whatever we're calling it. It was, yeah. So and I'll tell you what really changed is my wife was the costume designer on season 4 of Legacies and on the new Batman show, Gotham Knights, both for the CW.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes. Oh, yeah. She's amazing. She is amazing, and she has
is.
a mean Instagram game and a mean Twitter game. And so watching her tweet and post every week and what fun she was having made me realize that I've got to do this for the arc. I gotta watch what people are saying, and noticing this year's engagement on the arc compared to last year's, it has been fascinating for me, because I felt like last year we were probably getting a tweet a minute as we are now, but I'd say they were maybe 8 out of every 10 were positive. Now it just feels like 10 out of 10 are positive, which is just awesome.
Well, those are the real fans that have stuck through season 1 and season 2. And we've also noticed as fans, I can't speak for all of them, but we've also noticed the increased engagement, especially from now we have you, we have India, we have Dean, who is our the main guy that's actually pushing all this, right? Then we find out we have Kevin, then we have James, and it's just allows us to experience and just savor the episodes as we watch them.
And we are a bit, it's again, every show's different. and I've had so many wonderful experiences, but on bigger rooms, bigger writers' rooms. And there's always a couple of people that don't get along. And that's fine. That's life. That's any job and any work.
Yeah.
We all get along so well and like each other so much, to the point where I frequently think, what if I'm the one everybody hates? Because we just get along. And like it's like Kevin tuning in here, and I see Kevin once a week, so he doesn't need to come and take the time, but he's just being supportive. He's a friend. Or he needs time away from his kids. I don't know, one or the other. I like to think it's just because he's a good friend and he's being supportive. And that's I watch. I after the arc, I put on. I know what's going on the show, but I still put on After the Arc every week because I want to fast forward to see what Jonathan says or what India or Maddie says. And Maddie didn't do this season, but because she just had a baby. But I fast forward to see the my family writers and what they're saying, and just because you want to be supportive, and it's very unique and it's very awesome. I feel very, very lucky.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, because we're seeing that on the cast side. We'll do a podcast with a cast member, and then someone will pop in the chat room and or join the actual podcast.
Every program we've done.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Good for you.
As a matter
That's
of fact,
amazing.
For Kimmy's episode, I apologize. For Deanna, Christy showed up. I mean, wow. The first one we had was, I wanted Ryan, because he was the first one. I said, Ryan, your boss is going to be on next week. Would you like to kind of, and he was, oh, no, I don't want to do that. So, but after that, it was, they were supporting each other. It was unreal. And John Paul, that's why I'm sorry to be gushing, but it's obvious you guys get along. It's obvious you guys get along, and it's obvious that there's magic here. Yes, it starts with Dean and John, and it goes all the way down. But
it's top down. It really is
top down. Yeah, because even when we were talking with the director Milan Todorovic Takiwood, he was talking about how close he feels with the cast, and then we were talking about how we do a Battlestar Galactica show, and then he was saying, "Hey, I might even join you because I'm a fan." So I'm like, "Oh my god,
I might join you. I love Battlestar." Yeah. To be fair, it's been a while since I've watched it, but
which one? Or all of them?
The Ronald Moore. The new one.
It's
not that new anymore.
We can start that one in a couple of months, doing a review of the whole series.
And that one's going to be a multi-year effort.
Yeah,
that's just surreal. We just finished basically 1 year of going through the original series and Galactica 1980. We reviewed it. I think we were the first ones ever to review Galactica 1980.
Wow, good for you guys.
As a matter of fact, we did last night, which was kind of fun. But look, we do a lot of stuff, and humbly we would invite. But I don't want to forget, does your wife have an agent? And maybe she would like to do a live program and talk about what she's done.
She has a manager and has before, and I am sure would again.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to ask just for the little bug to be placed, but Michael will contact, and that would be absolutely awesome.
Yes, Michael, you have all my info, and I can pass it along to.
You're the manager.
No, she has a manager.
We can go directly if he says yes. So.
Okay, I can give you all that information.
Be respectful. It's just now. It'd be funny if you hear and say, "Who the hell are these guys?" Oh that day I was gone for 4 hours.
No, she knows. She's probably watching. Well, actually, I don't know if she can watch right now, but I think she.
Let us know in the chat room.
She will be watching. Yeah,
that would be cool.
She's got COVID, so she's hopefully sleeping right now.
Wow.
But
we're sorry, John Paul. Yeah, wow.
As am I.
But hopefully,
no, she's amazing. If you're going to be at Dragon Con, she's speaking on like 3 panels and teaching a bunch of workshops down there.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Okay. She does costumes, which is a way that the program speaks to its audience. And you're going to tell me that someone who writes the language would not be something that would draw someone's attention? Come on, John Paul. Yes. I mean, come on. You're a humble man.
I will happily go to ElectricCon. I have a feeling there are probably people more important than me, but I will happily go.
Well,
As
if
I
you
tell,
ever go, I'm there because I've been attracted not to you, but attracted to your work, and
I'll take it. I'll
especially
take it however I can get it.
I was gonna say I gotta
I'm
tell
very
you.
needy.
I got to tell you, man, when I saw you
So
in
are
After the
we.
Arc and the interviews and everything, but the one that got me, that's I got to get this guy on the show. That's why I reached out last year to you. Was when we were talking about Kelly in season one. We were just starting to talk and figure her out,
I
and
love Kelly.
and there was a question about how can you write so nicely or think so nicely about Kelly because he's a killer. You said everybody needs hobbies, and when you said that, I said I got to get this guy on.
And also I get a character payment every time she appears. So I am a big champion of Kelly surviving.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So I know we went off topic a little bit. I just wanted a couple of questions I have yearning. I know you didn't write the episode, season one episode. I mean, season two's first episode is awesome. I know that's Jonathan. But there was a little cue I picked up at the very beginning where there's the evacuating the ark. And I'm just curious if that came from Jonathan or was that a discussion between the writing room. Once
Which
I was about to mention the scene.
sorry.
So the hole or the hull is about to be cut out.
Yes.
And the very first person that goes out is Alicia.
oh yeah, smooth
I'm
move.
just wondering if that was just something that just happened randomly, or if that was written in the script, because the whole women and children first thing came to mind. And so the ship was not in good shape, and Alicia goes out the hull first is the thing I noticed. And I was wondering if that's something y'all thought about, or if it's just that's the way it happened.
Okay, but you mentioned something else about that, Jag. You're missing about the relationship they had with her. And forgive me, maybe I'm answering for John. I don't mean to, but that she was the younger one, and that's the
Mhm.
one that they wanted saved first. Was that
That's what I
deliberate?
was thinking is
Sorry,
when
Jag.
I picked that up and I went, wow, that's cool that they thought about having Alicia go out first because she's the young one.
I will be honest, I do not remember.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm sure it's a Jonathan thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure because I don't remember it. Like I remember Jonathan pitching in the room, and then Christy hugs him and is like, "I'm glad to have a family, and you're my family now." I
Yeah.
really distinctly remember Jonathan pitching out in the room because I thought, I don't know, that might be a little sappy, and I didn't say that. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't say anything because it's so beautiful, and that's
It worked.
that's why Jonathan is a genius.
No, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I understand. We're thinking this happened 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago.
Right.
And this happened a year ago for you or more.
April of 2023. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it
So
was, and they shot over the strike too. So I mean,
yeah,
it was, yeah.
it was
There's
crazy.
probably a rough edit by the time we came back.
Yeah. So
There had
the
to
other
have been,
thing,
yeah.
I don't know if I picked this up from you on After the Arc or if I picked it up on my own. So if I picked it up from you, I'm not taking credit. If I am, then it's on me. But when they did the spacewalk with Christy and Mr. Trust,
Oh yes.
I got Mr. Smith vibes from, or is it Dr. Smith or Mr. Smith from
From Lost in Space.
Dr. Smith.
Lost in Space vibes from that because it just reminded me of that's the way he would act. He's
Oh,
a smart
interesting.
guy and that kind of thing, but he's also a wuss kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
And-
yeah.
And
And
so
I was management, not labor.
Yes. That was good.
For the life of me, I can't remember who pitched that in the room. It might have been me, but usually I remember when I pitch a joke. But I just fell in love with it and had to put it in. And that's what I'm talking about, little moments where I'm like, I was management, not when I'm like, I get anxiety because this is going to make it in. Because I was management, not labor isn't, the plot doesn't turn on it. So,
Right.
those are the first things that get cut when you're long. And so I'm always happy when those embellishes and flourishes that tell you something about the character still say in and are cool. But yes, very much Mr. Smith from Lost in Space.
Yeah.
I do tend to be the guy in the room who has all those weird random references to the point where Jonathan's like, how do you remember that? And I don't know if they left this in after the arc when I talked about it. I was like, I don't have a dog or kids. So all that free brain space is for, hey, remember that episode of Next Generation where this happened? Hey, do you remember Wrath of Khan when they go down to SETI Alpha 6 and it's windy? And like as soon as Jonathan was like, they're going to be dressed like Bedouins. That was his reference point. And I was like, oh, yeah, and it's going to be windy and this and that. And they'll walk in and walk around, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah. It's like, how do you know? Like, because it's Wrath of Khan. That's what I thought Jonathan was pitching Wrath of Khan. It didn't remember. I was like, no, it's Wrath of Khan. He's like, oh, then we can't do it. And I was like, I should have kept my mouth shut. And I was like, no, it's going to be different. It's not going to be exactly Wrath of Khan. But then at lunch, I did pull up that video.
That is cool.
Yeah. Here,
Yes.
Kevin is messing with you. I thought this would be fun to put up.
This
If
is
you could
cool.
write a crossover episode with another show, movie franchise, what would it be? And he says the correct answer is the Orville.
Or would it be the John Paul universe?
Well, it's funny. Selfishly, maybe it's because we've been talking about it so much. Just Add Magic would be kind of fun. But I'm a huge Doctor Who nerd. I'm a huge Star Trek nerd, and I'm a huge Marvel nerd. To be able to do any of those things, and Jonathan is not well versed in the Marvel movies. So Kevin, it should be Doc. Thank you. But yeah, all those sort of things hit me right at the time where it just soaked into my brain, and I'm able to remember them and pull them up as reference. And there's a deep, no, I wouldn't even say a deep cut, a shallow cut to a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode that's coming up, and I can't say too much about it other than, what can I say? I can say it's episode 10, and it's a Next Generation. It's our take on a Next Generation episode, where that always kind of bugged me that it never had fallout. I'm like, if we do it, we got to do what the Next Gen never did, because Next Gen was syndicated. It was not supposed to be serialized like we are.
Right.
I was like, and my respectful pitch was, if we did something like this on episode, it's got to have repercussions. And I think we did that.
Cool.
As much as I could say it's episode 10. It's written by Maddie, and I know she went and watched that episode for reference, and we did our, I don't want to say better, but our arc version of it. And it'll have cool fallout for episodes to come.
Well, I do know, I will say this, that some of the guests that we have had, they, we were told 6 was shattering, which it was. But then all of them have said it gets better and better and better throughout the rest of the season. So we're all just going, I can't wait.
I think there will be another episode that will be shattering.
Now I know. So speaking of,
I don't even want to tell you the episode number.
No.
I don't want you to go in thinking like this is the one, but like, I think there's one coming up that'll break the ARC internet.
So I'm curious, what was in the punch in the writing room for the other you?
What was in the punch?
In the writing room for it.
So
because you guys went crazy.
We went nuts. It was called Strike. It was called Strike Was Coming, which it's. So it was. We were trying to think of. We knew we were going to go to Arc 3 to get these parts, and we were like, well, what could happen on the way to Arc 3? And that's really how that's how the electricity monster came about, and how the parallel universe came about. It was we could just jump to warp, we get our one shot, and then we're there, and then we move on with the rest of the story. And we're like, and what is the rest of the season going to be? We don't have enough episodes. And so we were trying to think of cool things. And I was lobbying for some time travel. I'm a big time travel fan. And I was lobbying for, we get there, and there's Arc 3, and all of a sudden Arc 15 drops out of warp and shoots them up. Or I was lobbying for, I'm trying to be careful how to say this, and again, it was a year ago. I was lobbying for some sort of, if we did not know what the finale of the season was going to be. But if we had known that we'd jump into essentially the finale and create some sort of grandfather paradox type thing. And eventually, Jonathan's not the biggest time travel fan. Jonathan and I got into this heated discussion about how time travel works, and Maddie and India were just like watching us like a tennis match, because Maddie and India do not come from the sci-fi world, but they're nerds now. And afterwards, I just started laughing. I was just like, I love my job. How cool is it that we get to have these discussions? But Jonathan and I couldn't quite come to terms on. I couldn't talk Jonathan into a time travel story that he liked. That's the long and short of it. It was not about coming. It's like I couldn't pitch him something that he felt would work in our show and work time travel wise. And somehow, out of all of that, that's how parallel reality came about. And if we're referencing other great Star Trek shows, it's Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
But we were trying to think, and even when that came up, Jonathan was like, it's a mirror universe. We can't, it's been done a million times. And one of the ways that got Jonathan excited about it was that we would spend the first half of the episode not in the mirror universe, just thinking, they're not going to kill Bryce. But for a second, thinking what is going on and not, and staying with our characters and not know what's going on. Our characters, Garnett and Lane and Ava, who have not seen Star Trek, so do not know all these sci-fi conceits and what they're making of it all. And I think that was the thing that sold Jonathan on doing a parallel universe. And even Jonathan, once we broke it, we were just Jonathan and I were just so jealous that Maddie got to write it.
Yeah,
It was such a hardcore sci-fi thing, and poor Maddie coming off, who's amazing. But she wrote for Jane the Virgin and shows like that, and had to go watch Mirror Universe, and get the joy of watching all these great sci-fi trips for the first time she got to have.
John Paul, there's a fan theory, and I may have started this fan theory, so forgive me, but I have the theory that in that episode, what you call the Mirror Universe episode, that no, not everything was restored. And no, I have to preface this by obviously don't answer, but the theory is that not everything was restored back to 100% copacetic. There are ramifications that are going to show up later. So again, I just am sharing with you a theory that's picking up steam in the ARC universe, that it's just, in other words, as you know, in the time travel theory, if we do this, everything will be set back to normal.
Right.
I'm alleging that no, there are some things that were not set right, especially.
Well,
okay, go
ahead.
Go ahead.
Especially.
Well, it's with Kat. Kat altered Kelly by giving her the information, and we saw that in this episode. So things have been changed, and there are other things. I'm just alluding to that, and I threw it to Kimmy and Christine. I said, "Don't react. We don't want to get anyone in trouble." But that is a fan theory, and there are several others. Obviously, we were proven wrong on the Eastern Federation one. Mm-hmm. We were close, but we got it wrong, and I forget what another theory is. So, so a lot of people are coming around to it. I hate to admit it, this Roger, but yeah.
Right. What it was the cat thing. That's the most important thing, because as we were talking about this episode, and much like the other episode that's coming up where we reference something, I'm not a fan of shows where if you skip an episode, it doesn't matter.
That's the TNG echo there.
And where Jonathan was hesitant about, so many shows have rung this bell before. And again, Jonathan and Dean are the boss. I'm not the boss, but I can be a conscience again, talking about the ranks in the military, I can be a little more vocal as a conscientious objector, respectfully. And I get shot down a lot, rightfully so. But my big thing is, it's so cool, but something has to come out of it besides a wrong. Okay. And so that's where the cat thing came from. We're moving Kelly's story along by her leaving that device. So that's the thing that if you skip this episode, you're going to be behind and you're going to miss. That's the the Thor 2, The Dark World. It's where they kill Loki. It's where you first get the concept of the Infinity Stones. It's I'm a huge Marvel nerd. I'm referencing Marvel all the time, and Jonathan hates it. But he can't stop me. He can't stop me on this podcast. So
You never know.
He maybe
Whoa, hey.
Would it be great if he just appeared in the chat and he's like, "You're fired"?
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
We got it here first.
We'd have to have a
No,
season
he
3
won't.
for me to be fired.
No. It's just a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, about yeah. So what
Now,
was it?
Roger's fantasy.
Yeah, no. It's interesting because I hear theories, and it's like I don't want people to get excited for something that might never happen.
And that's fair, yes. But this is what you do. You create or you make us think this through, man. And
although at the same time, people on Twitter are like, "How many arcs are there?" And my response is always 7 seasons and a movie's worth of arcs. That's I mean, it's not to say we have no plans to come back to it, but doesn't mean we couldn't. Doesn't mean more things couldn't have been left behind. That that when we're scrambling for story halfway through season 4, and we're like, yeah, but remember when we went to the Mirror Universe?
yeah.
What if?
Well, the previous show we did, I Freudian slipped season 4, so I'm already on season 4 mentally.
Yeah.
So I'm already thinking positive that we are going to hopefully get additional seasons, so that we can.
You and me both.
Yeah, because
I like healthcare.
Yes, that is important.
I remember talking to you that during the strike and how you guys were doing and everything else, and it is rough. I mean, a lot of people didn't realize it. And I think the strike, along with championing the work that you guys and the credit and the compensation that you guys duly deserve. I think it also brought it to the light for the rest of fans and in general people that these shows just don't happen on a whim, or that just somebody just wrote it together in a Word spreadsheet or a Word document and that was it. That there's some real true life behind it, and it was opened my eyes to the point of saying, yeah, we watched this show weekly, and it looks simple. And it looks like it was done like 5 seconds and stuff. But then you see all the work, especially this season, that has been just anteed up everywhere, from production, writing, everything. It was just anteed up for the servicing of the fans, that it's definitely something that we need to continue to remember, the people that actually do their hard work to make it happen.
Thank you. And if we do our jobs right, it should feel simple and seamless. There's things that happen at the end of the season where we're like banging our heads against the wall, and we're like, what's the solution for the story thing we set up? And we talk about the strike and those first 4 that became 5 episodes written. And there, I remember we distinctly pulled something out of one of those episodes, not pulled, like a plot thing. They were like, wait a second, this could mean this, and it's almost like we planned it.
Yeah.
And it was just a happy, boiling in our subconscious for 6 months that it ended up paying off. But when we do our job right, it should feel simple and seamless, and you shouldn't be pulled out. Which is why Kevin and the VFX team, and being able to, we couldn't have done that planet.
Yeah.
Season 1.
Wow, that was gorgeous.
If we'd done that episode and gone down to that planet, I don't think, and I don't want to speak ill, I don't think we had the infrastructure to do that planet what it deserved, and then you would have been pulled out of the episode, and then you wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
I joked with I don't remember who it was, probably Dean and Jonathan. I would say now, my whole thing was, I've done some visual effects work. I used to teach it to elementary school kids, believe it or not. And I said, looks to me like you blew your entire budget for the whole season on episode 12 with the blowing up of the
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they wouldn't really answer me. But I know what that takes to do something like that.
Yeah, and it looked beautiful.
Looked good.
Yeah,
and then when we started season 2, just the first couple of episodes, we were just going like, "Oh, this tops the blowing up of that."
Oh my God! It was just the. And Kevin, if you're watching, we want you on the show. I mean, I know
I
you're
already
watching
wrote him,
here.
and I hope he
Oh, you
writes
wrote
me
it, so
back.
we want you.
Yes, I'm on top of things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
he's
Kevin's
already
great.
interviewing you. He's
Yeah.
firing off these questions.
Yeah. So,
So-
Kevin, be on the lookout. But yeah, the visuals, which I'm sure opens up your and in the writing room's creativity box to go to situations and locations that you couldn't.
Yes, 100%. But I will say, I didn't know we could pull off this plan until we had Kevin on board. And I mean, we have a whole team and everything, but this was our biggest swing, and it was scary. And I think in a vacuum, if we were able to go now do episodes 7 through 12, we might have swung bigger. Now, I could be wrong about that. Dean and Jonathan might have known everything we were capable of, and our reach hit our grasp perfectly. But watching that play, I mean, just sitting there with Jenny and watching it on the big screen, and like I said, watching the play, and I turned to Jonathan, and I was like, "Have we made a promise we're not going to be able to keep in season 3?" And Jonathan's like, "No, we can do it." Maybe I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but I just like it opened it to me. It opens the box on what we could maybe do on season 3.
Yeah.
As opposed to when we were in the thick of it for season 2 and we're writing the draft of episode 6 with the plan, and we're like, oh, hope this works.
Yeah.
We're taking a big swing with them. And I think we take some big swings on 12. I think that's the safest thing because it's the finale. We got to go big, right?
Yeah.
We got to go big and earn a season 3. But I feel like we kind of took a breath after 6 and got back to more internal episodes just on our sets to sort of make up for how much we killed everybody on episode 6. Not to say you're not going to see cool effects and spacewalks and things like that, but I think we pace our. We can't do that every episode.
No.
John
And
Paul.
you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to because look, I love special effects. I love everything that Mr. Good is doing in his team. Don't get me wrong, but it's you got to have good writing. You got to have the character. You have to have the story because that's the foundation.
Yeah. Well, the joys to me of this episode were, it was so cool to write the Gen 3s and the action, the shelter, and the fight, like Garnet hanging down on the thing. And
Oh, that was so good. Oh, I love that. I'm sorry.
So
I had
my theory that not everybody agrees with, and rightfully so, is I try to write the big, amazing thing and be told we can't do it, rather than try to guess. And so, like some of those action moments in there, I did script. Thinking, oh, well, you know what, maybe we can't do the hang down thing, whatever. But in my mind, in a first draft, it's there forever. So it's cool that we get to do that, and all those VFX are great. And man, we're on another planet, it's great. But to me, the 3 scenes that resonated with me and the most fun and painstaking to do. Oh, and also pushing back, and there's Arc 1 and the new signage and everything. Like that's so cool. But the character stuff that Ian Bryce in the show, I was ready to fall on my sword and be like, this scene has to go in there. And maybe make a note. We can talk a little bit about why if we ever have a postseason roundup. But that could have been the first scene to be cut because it's just 2 bros broing out. Yeah. Right? You could have done that scene in 2 lines. It could have been, hey Spence, you okay? I'm having a no, I'm not. And then you get on to fight, which is kind of the meat of the episode. So I was so happy that scene could be in there and live and breathe and what is essentially these 2 brothers from another mother. And you get to see this softer, you do see a lot of softer sides of Bryce, but you generally don't. You see the softer sides with Ava. You don't necessarily see him with his best friend, Spencer. And so that just rang as like a true scene to me. And the Ian Lane scene, which you couldn't make it too long, you still have to be careful because there's budget concerns and timing concerns when you're both on the screen at the same time. And then later Lane and Garnet. And to me, at the end of the day, those are the 3 scenes I'm going to remember the most and be the most proud of. That and Kevin's amazing work, because I'll get a text from Kevin if I don't say it. Yeah, even though there's all this cool stuff, that meaty character stuff is you tell me, you guys are the fans, but I think that's what, at the end of the day, is what keeps people coming back.
Well, and then you had something similar in episode 4, I believe, which is the one, is it 4 or no? 3, the anomaly is the one where they go into the parallel universe. I'm lost, yeah.
I know.
But we had the dad that obviously did not like that version of Lane. And then when Lane goes back, Bryce tells Lane, hey, what did you, oh, your dad loved you, and, it's nice to you. And he said everything positive about Lane, and we saw the other side. So that kind of made you kind of get a glimpse of Bryce's character even further. And then, yeah. So those are the things that, in my opinion, along with the effects and everything else that goes on, is the glue that keeps it going.
Yeah.
Because
and I will say our crazy plot twist.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And your cliffhangers.
I can't tell you when, but I had a Mr. Smith goes to Washington moment.
Okay.
During one of these, Jonathan was like, should we do this? And I'm like, not should, we must do this, Jonathan. They expect bonkers plot twists that make sense in the context of our show. Not bonkers for the sake of bonkers, but bonkers in a way that only we could do.
Yes. And you all do it well.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, I wanted to add, and Jag flat out took what I was going to say.
Sorry.
And George Lucas said, and this is what you said about the special effects and all the visual effects. And look, he said, visual effects without a story is a sad thing. Okay. And you guys are doing it with a lot less money, and we are here for the drama, the story. We know we're not going to get, a Death Star trench run every episode. We're not, but we're in because it's a story that's in. And Jag also said something earlier about you guys deserving. This is the only time I would reprimand my co-host here. You guys have earned what is being. That's the only thing I would say when Jag said that earlier. You guys have earned it.
But I will say, this might be interesting. On the flip side, I am the first person in the room to say, what is the event of this episode? I cannot break a story without structure. I can't know. I need to know what the big Act 5 act out is, the moment of life and death peril, and what our cliffhanger is. I do not think I am a help to the team when I don't know these things. Somebody says I'm a big structure nerd, and structure being the event, the comet, the we're going to meet clones and they're going to attack. The big moment is coming up off that shuttle, and are we going to make it alive or death? Someone once said this, and I think it's true. Structure is the foundation, and it's the 2x4s in the drywall of the house, and character is how you paint it. Mm-hmm. And you can't have the paint without the walls up. Mm-hmm. So it's this interesting tap dance, at least for me. And every writer is different, and everybody likes to break story different. I was in a room once where one of the senior level writers would walk in and be like, all right, what's the first scene? What's the first line? What do they walk in and say? And I had a really tough time in that room because I couldn't break story that way. I had to know where we were ending. And I needed to know, kind of like how every Friends title was like the Friends TV show. The one with the monkey, the one where they get married, whatever. I need to boil down an episode of television to be like, this is the one with the clones. This is the one with the parallel universe. And again, I'm not. This is not my show, but in terms of how I can work and contribute best, there are times we're going and I'm lost, and I say, okay, but what is this one?
Okay, let me ask you, this is a thought experiment. You're young enough to still remember TV Guide, right, young man?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the TV Guide blurb. I will talk about, what is the TV Guide blurb?
Yes. Okay, in Star Trek 5, Shatner argued with the executive
God
producer.
need with a spaceship?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that. He says, remember, what is TV Guide going to say about your movie? Okay, and it's one or two sentences. Oh my God, John Paul, I appreciate. Okay,
yeah.
Carry this forward on this episode. what would your TV Guide blurb be for this one? And I know it's an ambush question. I'm sorry.
Well, it's interesting because the best things about this episode are the things you don't want to spoil,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to spoil that it's clones, and you don't want to spoil that it's lame. So and fun fact about this episode, the first 10 pages of this were extremely difficult to write because interesting things were happening, but there was no conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? We're repairing the ship. It's going well. Nothing blows up. We're putting the sign up. Lane's like, oh, we got a problem. Garnet didn't take the captaincy. There's no coup. Garnet's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. And she does. There's the closest we get to any real drama is Angus feeling a little sad about the bioshelter and Ava and Bryce with that one scene where Ava thinks, oh, you just called me for a booty call when he was trying to help her. But
That's right.
We don't really get to any real conflict until, oh shit, we've got a distress call. And that's maybe 15 minutes in. And I knew, we all knew it would work, but I was worried on the page that our sci-fi execs would be like, nothing is happening. So the blurb for this one is tough, and I think would have to be en route to their new home, Arc 1 answers a distress call from an unlikely source.
Yeah.
But I think this was a more difficult one to do that. I think you could do, well, actually Parallel Universe is tough because we don't go to the Parallel Universe until 20, 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
En route to Arc 3 for
Arc 3.
repairs, one of the crew goes missing in a spectacular manner. I don't know. There's a reason I'm not paid to write these.
You're funny.
But let me just comment on something you just said right now. It was, and being a fan from season 1, episode 1 to now, it was actually refreshing to watch an episode for that much of time without much conflict, because we're so used to the alarm going off every 2 minutes and something else comes up and something else comes up, that we actually were given a time to kind of like soak it in and see the accomplishments that they've done.
Yes.
Because we've grown with the actors, with the characters through the season, and we've grown to like them, and we want good things to happen to them. And it was nice to be able to highlight that particular, positive, shining moment of getting the full ship fully functional, which I don't think from the very beginning it has been. So
that's correct. Yeah.
So it was great to celebrate that. And I'm getting real emotional because it was so good to see that and be a win for the team.
Oh, it was great. But you can only do it at the beginning of an episode.
Yeah, that's it.
Or
you can't do it.
Or the series finale. If you do it in the middle, you're stopping the tension. I always talk about when we're breaking stuff like falling action, where the conflict of the episode has been resolved, but now we're going to do character work. That's we stopped the ship from exploding, but now we're going to resolve our character threads in the couple minutes before we roll previews and go to our cliffhanger. But sometimes we have multiple cliffhangers.
Yeah.
In this episode, we had Kimmy and Lottie, and we have the explosion down on the planet.
Yeah, the explosion.
So really, our resolves are Smoochy, which is a nice no conflict scene, which was, fun fact, we went rounds and rounds of like, what's he going to walk up and say? Yeah. And none of it, everything I wrote was just crap. And I felt it and I knew it. And Jonathan's like, he's always kind, but we all just felt it wasn't right. And I was like, there's nothing to say. And Jonathan was like, maybe he shouldn't say anything. And they just kiss and she just knows. I was like, can we please just do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we did. And so there's Smokey. There's a nice Lane Garnet thing, and I think that's more or less it. There might have been a Marsh thing as well. Sometimes scenes kind of switch around in post, and I also lose track of what's in which episode, and I don't want to accidentally spoil something. Yeah, so it can spoil anything.
Like I said, it's easy for us because we see it now. You guys wrote it a year ago.
Well, and it's so funny because watching it live tweeting, I'm actually barely watching the episode because I'm just enjoying what everybody's saying so much. So we'll watch the 7:00 feed to just tweet, and then later in the week actually just watch it, even though I've seen cuts of it before.
May I ask, going back to season 1, this is something that we as fans struggled with other people who became fans. And some of them are probably going to be listening right now. And let me explain to you. There was a frustration with this arc that they don't know what they're doing. They're incompetent and it's dumb. And we as an audience were like, wait a minute, wait. This isn't Picard. This isn't Janeway. These are the kids. I know that they're not kids, but you know what I'm saying.
I
And
do.
the
That was when
audience,
when Jonathan thought I didn't like the joke. I was like, Ava's not very good. But
okay,
for me,
yeah,
that was
yeah,
the
you
fun.
did you when did it go for you, or when did it click that like, oh, the audience got it now? I mean, you had your fans from day one, but we ourselves in our universe have had people that would they solved maybe 47 seconds of it and said, I'm out,
Mhm.
because of the way these kids were acting. It's like they didn't know a lot of stuff. Did
They
you
didn't
get that?
understand. Our friends did not understand what was going on.
We didn't want to say friends, Michael, because it's too close in our universe.
Well, we
They're
have lots of
listening
friends,
right now.
Roger. I have lots of friends, and some I will say they're friends, some are not. But anyway, I'll say acquaintances then, if he wants to know. But
It's okay.
some of them that are big sci-fi fans, they just didn't get the premise of the arc, and they were very negative. And I went, don't you understand what happened here? All the people that were in charge died.
Yeah.
These were not the people that were supposed to run the arc. They are secondary, thirdary, down.
Actually,
down
this
line.
is the third shift.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but then some of them, not all of them, some of them got it after the Comet Water episode.
The Comet Water episode.
Interesting.
That was
and
a big deal.
Then
Comet Water.
it kind of dawned on, wait a minute, these aren't the people that we're supposed to be. They are just trying to figure out what to do to survive. And then they embraced it. But some of them were really, really just anti-arc at first, because
So
they
got
didn't
used to that.
some of
understand it.
that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Did you feel some of that on Twitter?
Yes, but I kind of enjoy the people that hate watch. I'm just like, people that like watch the whole season and like, oh, I hated it. I was like, well, you can't take back your review. Thank you, sir or madam. We still got the click. We still got the rating. And the more sort of insulting they get, the more I'm like, well, I'm just going to pay my mortgage and enjoy my health care. How's your television show going? What show are you staffed on again?
That's funny.
And yeah. So if someone is passionate enough to write about the show, and maybe this is just an insight into my ego and my neediness, but it's better than radio silence about the show. I've been on shows that have had radio silence, and I would rather have people hate watching the show than crickets and you think no one is watching.
That's the worst thing, right?
Granted, what I really want is awesome audience and fans like this who are watching and enjoying. You can't please everyone.
Right.
Oh, you're a Star Trek fan. Check this out. Sorry, Michael. They're the lower deck kids.
100%.
That is cool.
100%.
That is cool. Yeah. We, in our own tiny way, John Paul, we would speak to people in our universe and we're like, watch. And we were fortunate because you and many other people said yes to us. And these very same people that didn't like it started to pay attention and started to join. And it was that, not us, it was you guys.
I mean, I feel like our show has a charm and a certain alchemy to, and any television show really is lightning in a bottle. To get a show pitched on the air, written, I mean, never bet against Dean Devlin, obviously. But there's just like any show, there's an alchemy and there's a charm to our show, and I think what we do well, we do really, really well. And yeah, I think I'm rambling, but I mean, we pack so much episode of these. So we do a season's worth of story in 3 or 4 episodes. are twists and turns. You're not, I mean, I don't want to say no one's ever going to see it. Somewhere, someone on the internet's guessed it, sure. But in general, you're not going to see it coming. We have great performances,
Yeah.
and we swing for the fences on all these scripts, and sometimes our reach extends our grasp or what have you. But it is from the top down with Dean and Jonathan. We're just all we're having so much more fun than we should. We're laughing to ourselves, we're cackling, we're like, and then there are times we're like, oh, wait till the fans see this, and we just with this Ian thing, like, just can't believe it went a year without being spoiled, and it was just so much fun to watch our little corner of the internet blow up. So if there's people, haters are going to hate, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a long-winded answer.
And the other thing I was going to say, any emotion that you all are feeling in the writing room resonates when we watch it. We can see it. Yeah, we can see it. We can see the fun that you had with, the alternate reality. We can see the fun that you had putting those little quips and those little references in the show. So whatever you guys are cooking up in the writing room when you're writing it, it's so cool that we can actually feel it and reflect it here. So whatever you guys keep, we hopefully get season 3, season 4, season 5. Sci-fi, if you're watching, we want season 10. If we continue with that, just know that the fans do catch and do absorb the energy that you're emitting. That's for sure.
Now,
thank you.
Along those lines, don't tell us unless we have. But going back from episode 1 to now,
face.
Okay, fair enough. Have the fans miss something still, because that, like, after the fact, like, oh, they got it or whatever, we'll eventually catch something in an episode. Is there something like from season 1 that the fandom has missed? I know that's a hard.
I couldn't speak to that. Yeah,
okay,
I don't go down all the deep. I do a light skimming. I don't go too deep down the fan theories and stuff.
I do want to apologize because that might have been crossing the line. I might have been searching for something, but sometimes
there's no like James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy Easter egg for $25,000. And thank you for getting that reference.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, are you mean in terms of plot or just like something one of us threw in? It was just like, oh,
maybe something like that. That's what I was kind of reaching for. Yeah. Was there something that we've just missed? Because Ryan was so kind to let us know on something that he did, and a lot of people missed it because it happened so fast. Because, he's on a bed for like 3-4 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I comment to him, I say, what do you care? You're getting paid.
Right. We should all be so lucky.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's little, like, I floated the name Maddox after my friend Ian Maddox, who was an assistant with me on Warehouse 13. That really did me a solid. It's one of the many dominoes that fell to lead to my career. So I always try to name a character after him. And I try to name characters after people I know, mostly because I'm lazy. And it's also my way of checking to see which of my friends are actually watching the show.
Watching.
Turns out not a lot.
Well, you got some names down here. If you ever want to name Planet Michael,
There you go. I've tried to get my
Andy Ian showed up.
Yeah, and Ian, yeah. I've tried to get my buddy. His last name is Gribble in the show twice. And the second time it didn't fly, Jonathan was like, it sounds like a Harry Potter name. I was like, okay. So I couldn't get that in. I got my buddy, like a one-liner speaking part, was my buddy Gabe, but Jonathan made a gender swapped her to Gabby, and like little stuff like that. I'll try to put in like the planet was named after my grandfather. But plot-wise, like, we've dropped a thread that we're going to pick up on in 10 years. We generally just pick it up because we burn through story so fast.
Yeah.
I don't know what if we get. I don't want to say this, but like I don't know what season 3 is going to be. I'm excited. But I remember we ended season 1. I'm like, I don't know what season 2 is going to be, and we figured it out. It was great. I think this season is better than season 1.
I think that's the fun part. I think is to start off with a blank page and fill it up.
And to be fair, Jonathan comes in with like a treatise on what it's going to be, but he does that, and he and Dean work on stuff that, it's not like they're calling me up over the off season to be like, we're thinking of these things. They're doing all their homework, and then we're the rest of us are sweating thinking, what are we going to do? And then we walk in day one and they've got a plan, which is awesome.
Yeah, they do.
The plan they had for season one, I almost felt embarrassed because they had every major turning point of the season mapped out.
Oh, yeah.
And they knew how we were going to react when we saw another arc, or when we saw the trusts, and and everything with arc 15, and everything that's like,
and it's not like they came beat for beat, but it was like, there's going to be another pod. It's going to be the guy that created the arcs. We're going to come on arc 3, and it'll be a mystery, and then it's probably going to lead to a coup, and like they had a lot of the stuff with the murder mystery, stuff with Bryce, and I just remember thinking, as a basically an employee coming in and looking at this roadmap, thinking, wow, I would watch this show. This is pretty cool. And then to be able to contribute in any small way that I could was just very gratifying and very cool. In the same way for season 2 as well.
Yeah. There are several other fan theories. Number one, that Garnett and Lane are going to hit it off. That's been for a little while now. I don't know what. Again, no need to comment. Nor am I asking. I'm just sharing with you. And there's another one.
I'm going to tell you something and don't say anything.
Yeah, okay. right, exactly.
Let's end the feed.
You know what? We know, and again, in our minds, we don't want to get you in trouble. That's why we're actually saying it, and I apologize, because we've had to jump through hoops, and we're eternally grateful that we have the privilege to be, having these conversations. So I think when I say that, I'm reminding myself, don't be stupid.
But also, it's like, by not commenting or commenting, I sometimes feel it's a comment. You might not have picked up, I'm a huge Marvel fan. And when people say, and people talk to the actors in the Marvel movies or the writers, and they're like, I can't comment on that. I'm like, well, when you can't comment, that's almost like a yes. It's like, if you were just going to say, no, we're not going to do that, that to me, I'd rather someone lie.
Right.
And then not. So Lane and Garnet are never going to get together. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. 2 more questions. Juno project.
Also, people shouldn't be happy. That's one of the things. When they're because once everybody's happy, all the again, it goes back to what I was saying about Lane. I enjoyed him more as Lieutenant Booby Pants. So we found a way to make him Poopy Pants again by giving him something to rail against.
I agree.
All right, you had another question.
It fits though, because he was so anti-clone, and then it turns out he's one of 4. It's like, wow, that destroyed his universe.
I don't want to say late in the game, but it wasn't. It was not when we came in day one and knew we were going to come across a ship of clones. We really thought we were going to do a Garnet clone, and it just never kind of. That's when I saw on the internet. And if I feel like we got to be just a little more clever, a little more creative. And again, for my level on the totem pole, which are on the hierarchy, which I'm definitely not to the top.
Fair enough.
And I talk like I have authority, but I don't.
Well, we hear a lot of your words when we watch these episodes, which is really cool. Now, this is a personal one. I've joked, obviously, as a writer, you put a lot into your life, into your episodes and stuff. We asked Miss Glasner, hey, you got taken out by a shovel. Your dad wrote that episode. Was there any subliminal themes behind
I think I wrote that one.
Okay, all right. Now you're okay. So this is great.
He directed.
I asked Mr. Glasner. I said, "Hey, so since you being a writer, and was there any real meaning why you took out your daughter with a shovel?" His answer was brilliant. A non-answer. He went on to something else. I'm like, oh, there has to be something there. So okay.
Jonathan's very funny. He's very dry and he's very funny.
Oh, yes, he is. And it was wonderful. And we look forward if he graces us again. We just can't wait. But what gave you the idea of the shovel?
They were in the bioshelter.
Yeah, I was going to say they're in the setting.
Yeah.
Okay,
setting.
all right. It was just I thought it was kind of fun.
Sometimes I wish I had more.
Oh yeah.
A shovel saved my life once, and I wanted to, do homage to that. But it was just we're in the bioshelter, and that's
It was
the thing
handy.
that would be around. It's either going to be a shovel or a potted plant, and a potted plant's going to be funny.
Yeah.
Also in this episode, if it's a spoiler, forgive me, but I did appreciate how you guys reestablished the importance of Angus twice, because they said, look, it's a water irrigation problem. It was directed at him. And he says, no, blockhead. It's because of this and this and this. Oh, look, you guys missed this. And the reality was, oh yeah, they were blaming him. And then, of course, Alicia later says, dude, without you, none of us are here.
Yeah, it was just trying to
Good
honor
stuff.
him because he's been off the table for a little bit, and we want to do some cool stuff with him.
And John, just real quick, now that we're speaking about Angus, he's kind of he hasn't said it
Stop.
with our podcast or anything, but he has mentioned that he's not on the console table in discussions, like when they go to the ready room and they're doing all the discussing. So he's been, he's kind of going, hey, Angus for council. So he was just kind of like what we've been doing for JP, vote for JP. So,
which I love.
Yeah.
It's,
so
those
any reason?
Do you want another person in those scenes?
I know.
Those scenes
I've heard.
I hate writing those scenes.
I know.
And all the way back from season 1, Lane's a little argument of like, why do we have a council? This is BS. We're a military ship. That was me. Because that comes up in episode 3 of the comment episode, and we're breaking these episodes, and I'm like, Jonathan, why are these randos in here? Who cares what so and so thinks? We're in triage mode. It's a crisis, and Jonathan is like, no, this is a democracy, and this is what we set up. And I was like, but should we? Do we really want to set up and I want to be very clear, I'm very pro-democracy. I hope everyone, if they weren't watching the show, was watching the DNC. But in the context of a military vessel that's limping through space, do you want to give everyone a voice? And Jonathan was like, yes. And he was like, but we can have this discussion in the show. And so over the season, as those meetings came up, it's just they're a nightmare to write because there's 10 people in them. Everybody's going to have a point of view. And then it was so funny in this season, we'd be breaking episodes and we'd be council meetings, and so I'm like, and we can't forget so-and-so. We can't forget so-and-so because, again, I know where my pay grade is, and Jonathan's made his point clear. And Jonathan at one point is like, you're so hung up on this council stuff. Did they really need to be there? And to this day, I don't know if Jonathan was messing with me or if he had just given up by that point on fighting that fight. And I was like, but you said last season, council is important democracy. And again, we all have our spinning plates, and I think, but that is why Angus is not on the council.
Okay, if I may follow up on the council thing, who wrote "Bryce is pretty"? Kimmy's line. I love it.
What's that?
I think that was a combo platter of me and Jonathan. I think because Jonathan was saying as Kimmy's flirting and this and that, and Jonathan will go on runners and be like, hey, do something like this. And generally when he says do something like this, 80% of it is gold. And you're just adjusting it when you're putting it in the scene for contextual reasons. Yeah. But I think that how it runs into being about Ava and him putting his foot in his mouth with it was me, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
It was good. Yeah.
Well, Nathan has an interesting thing about why it's probably good you didn't use a potted plant. I think this is kind of cool. If it was a potted plant, you'd see Alicia picking up plant after plant and be like, I'll eventually knock you out. Just give me a minute and a few more pots.
That's funny, Nate.
We only have so many plants left.
Yeah, that's right.
They're all gone now. So there's no food.
Wow.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny.
That is. So do you, I know we're probably getting close to the end here, but I was just curious. You watch the Twitters and the people discussing and things, and sometimes they pop. Do you get a kick out of what you hear, that you read, and how they go off on? I think somebody said, and I read
Oh, I
that
bet he
they
did.
were expecting a man to be in, when Angus goes in with Alicia, to kiss, that when the
I
doors
didn't see
open,
that.
they said they
That would
were
be
about
great.
expecting to be her with a guy, in that room.
Oh, that
or
would have been
something.
great. Why didn't we
Yeah.
think of that? Why isn't this person writing for the show? It's interesting because I like to try to heart everything when people are mentioning the show, but then I sometimes second guess myself. I'm like, oh, if I heart this, am I going to be endorsing a possible spoiler?
Right.
So just let it be said. If I'm hearting something, it's because I appreciate you talking about the show,
Right.
whether your theory is true or not.
Right.
But that's great.
Has something surprised you though? Have you read about something that goes, oh my gosh?
Somebody guessed something,
Okay.
Okay.
and
And that
that's all I'll
happens.
say.
I was going to
Yeah,
say something that happens.
I think Mr.
we,
Glassner said that as well. He said, "Yeah, there was someone that guessed something real big too." It's like
Yeah.
you can't fool everyone.
yeah, and with the India, James and I have a sidebar, just the chat thread, only because Maddie's out of town, out of the country right now, and we don't want to annoy Jonathan. So India, James and I have a side, and every once in a while we'll comment on people's comments, and like when somebody got, we're just like,
Well, and it happens because
it happens.
it's the investment of the fans. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and you're right. That is the way to look at it, as opposed to we were not creative enough.
Right. It's just we want to peel our part, and we're enjoying the show, and we want to see it. Well, I think it would have been good it goes this way, and if that happens to be where it goes, that just personifies the person being a fan, because they say, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I got to tell you, in season 1, you guys did an incredible job, because I thought I'm supposedly super fan, and you guys completely tripped me up on Trent, on the trusts, on Arc 15. I mean, everything you guys could throw at us. I messed up. So
Well, we're most of us nerds, and if we weren't nerds coming in, nerds now. So we're aware of all the tropes. And I don't think trope is necessarily a bad. It's a trope for a reason. It's because it's a cool thing that people do, and so I think we're aware of expectations, and we try to figure out how to subvert them wherever possible. I think, and I'm going to be very, very vague. If we talk again at the end of the season, I can be more specific. We're setting up a few things that will pay off at the end of the season, and I think there's only so many logical conclusions you can come to. So someone's going to guess it, but we're trying to do is the most interesting choice that makes sense in our world. I had an acting teacher once. The acting teacher said it's not about making the right or wrong choice in a performance. It's about making the most interesting choice.
Yeah.
And I think that is true with writing, with the caveat of it's got to make sense.
Right.
You can just do something nuts for the sake of being nuts, and then it's just shock value. We're going nuts in a way that hopefully has, writing teacher once said, all mystery should end with aha, but of course.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're surprised, but in retrospect it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And that's what I think that's the best way to describe the arc. Because we'll go, oh, but it makes sense that it happened. Or that occurred. You're right. That is the way. If I were to sum up the arc in 4 words, that would be it.
And we didn't know we were going to do Clone Lane until we were breaking episode 6, maybe episode 5. But if you watch from season 1, it almost kind of tracks. Like, here's this man who is so prejudiced against clones. Of course, he's maybe someone watching it figured it out, because that's a conclusion you'd come to. But yeah, I don't know what my point is now.
No, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any more questions or comments from the chat room. But,
I do want to say something that it only happened once before. It's blown us away, John Paul. When I mentioned her before, Mercedes de la Cruz. There was a moment that she was speaking and the chat room went silent.
Yeah.
Not silent because they had nothing to say, but because they were blown away. And John Paul, that happened again today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, nobody's written
They've
anything.
been commenting, but there was a point where the chat room flat out went silent for a 15-minute period.
I put them to
And
sleep. Power naps are a good.
No. Okay,
No,
okay.
just the opposite.
You're a humble man, but no, that's
No.
not it. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
making it clear that we had it again, and we're just like, wow.
Thank you. And I apologize to everybody who's in the chat room. I've been trying to scan off the side with my eyes, but I'm not good at multitasking. So if I missed a comment or whatever, I thank
That's
I do
everybody
want to give a
here.
shout out to Elizabeth Bowman, who gave us a like as well. Ah, ha, ha. Kevin Good.
Kevin Good, off to sleep. This tracks. This is Kevin.
It is great. And when I made that comment the first time, people in the chat were like, no, we're here.
Yeah.
We're just, they
Yeah.
were blown
Yeah.
away as well. And they're
Yeah.
I mean, John Paul, they're listening to every word.
Yeah.
That they don't even
I-
comment.
I
Wow.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And again, as
Yep.
I'm just a soldier in Jonathan and Dean's army, and happy to be a part of that. Perhaps I'm a soldier in their army, and I'm so not only am I lucky to be working.
Wait, John Paul,
lucky-
are you the
lucky to be working.
conscientious objector or are you the soldier? Which one is it?
A good soldier can be a conscientious objector. And actually, I should say, I'm actually not working. I'm unemployed. But when I am working on the show, to have a job, to work with people you like on a show that you would watch anyways, like, how lucky am I? How very, very lucky am I?
Well, we're very lucky you're part of that army.
I mean, the commute's an hour and a half, but
Yeah,
I've
but-
done that. I hear you. No
Yeah,
one had
but
a
I mean-
commute like Michael over here.
Yeah.
At the end of his street was the school that he taught at. What up, nerd?
wow. Well, I got very spoiled on Warehouse 13 that I didn't have to touch a freeway for my first job, and that spoiled me for everything after.
Wow.
Wow.
Although, fun fact about how our room works is we will break, because there's 4 of us, we'll break 4 episodes, and we go on the rotation. So, Jonathan will be writing the first one, I'll be writing the second one, Maddie, and then India. So we'll be breaking, we'll finish Jonathan's, and he'll start outlining evenings, and then we'll finish mine, and I'll start outlining evenings. But eventually, by the time we get to India's, Jonathan's like, well, we've got 4 episodes broken. I guess we should all go home and write. And so we'll have a couple weeks where we're just kind of on our own schedule to write as we need to, which is great because I'm a night owl. So I can stay up till 3 a.m. writing and sleep in if I need to while leaving my phone on, because we'll jump onto Zoom if, when emergencies come up. And then once we have all our scripts done and given notes and stuff, then we go back and we break 4 more or 5 in the case of when James got his episode. So it is very, very lucky. Very good room hours.
Well, but it shows because whatever you guys do, we see it.
And I'll tell you, Jonathan is probably, and I do not mean this as a detriment to any other showrunner I've worked with, because I've learned so much and still friends with so many, like Jack I've been talking about, but Jonathan is the most decisive showrunner I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
He listens to everybody's opinion and values them, but he just decides and we move forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll break episodes in like 2 days.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not that we don't go back in and change things as, 3 episodes down the road, we realize, we're going to twist this plot around, so it's going to have a trickle effect. But we do not waste time turning around. I've never worked on a show like this. It's amazing.
Well, we
And
should
Jonathan, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we should probably wind up pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want you to come back again, and we don't
And
want
share
to
more.
share more. So and
Sure, yeah. And maybe
near
after the season's
the
over,
end of the
talk about
season or after
everything we planted and why we did what we did. And
yeah.
Now,
And,
I do want to tell you that you do not hold the record. As a matter of fact,
Oh, Rob,
last
good about the
year,
record. Good
No.
they were competing amongst themselves to who was the longest guest. Mercedes was one of them. I think she was over 3 hours and closest to 4. And she knew it. And she stayed on with us. And it was just like this right now. That there was just so much to talk about.
Just so much to
And-
talk about. And
I
I'm
mean,
just so glad I'm just so glad that we were able to now concentrate on the other side. I love the cast. Don't get me wrong. Love the
Yes.
actors and everything else. I just love the fact that we were able to now get the other side of the show because there's so many trinkets and so many things that we just don't see the cogs working, and that I
Yeah.
want to. Yeah, I'm very happy that we're getting directors and we're getting writers and hopefully Kevin. Kevin, we want you.
Kevin.
And we had Fred Corey. So it's just so
Oh, that's
nice.
awesome. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. I
Yeah.
finally got to meet him. He's great. Well,
Yeah.
if Kevin doesn't come on, I'm just going to have to tell all of Kevin's stories for him.
There you go.
Ooh.
There you go.
As told by John
Yeah.
Paul Nichol. There you go, Kevin.
I
There
love
you
the
go.
love.
Or who knows? Maybe when you return, maybe he'll be able to join as well. And
Oh, that'd be fun. He
you
can
know,
tell me why
we've
I'm wrong
learned,
about everything.
John Paul, sorry. Have you done other interviews?
After the arc ones.
Besides after the
Right.
Other than that, yeah. Have you ever spent time with fandom like this?
Not really.
Yeah. And we
But
thank you
I
for that.
haven't really been asked. I happily. I don't think so, but it's my pleasure.
Well, no two other people
Yeah.
at the other side does exist, and that they offer just an incredible amount of
I mean,
information.
we do it all in a vacuum in a way, especially because we're such a small room. So to be able to talk with people and have this feedback and hear about what interests you in the show. I can talk about what interests me all day, but the questions you're asking, what you guys are interested in, what you're grabbing onto, it's great. It's wonderful. It was one of the reasons with Maddie and India being new blood in the room. They were able to comment on what they saw as fans in season one. This is awesome to be able to talk about this and dream of a season 3 and what could
Oh,
be.
yeah.
Or
Well,
4
look.
or 5.
Look, you see how we live off the comments here in the chat room as well. John Paul,
Mhm.
we've had some interviews from very big names, and the chat room is empty. And it's only because of the hour of the day. Our audience is an evening audience, and when we do one during the day or in the morning, we're screwed. It's not because it's a bad interview, but the comments. I mean, they're cool. I mean, we're here doing this, and we're amazed by the questions and the comments in the chat room. And we love them. And we didn't give a shout out, Michael, to the big fandoms or the 2 fan groups in the chat room.
Yeah, I was waiting until the end here when.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But that's okay. But we have our 2
You
big.
get the power dynamic, John.
I know it's so. Yeah, Roger. Never mind. I want to say I'm going to be nice tonight. So no, our two big fan groups. There's 3 of them actually, but the 2 big ones that we really enjoy their input and their support is the ARC series fan group and the ARC fan group, both on Facebook. We also have another one that's the Outpost fan group and the ARC fan group combined, and they allow us to post all of our upcoming podcasts on their pages, and we do appreciate that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We
Awesome.
sure do.
Yeah,
they are all huge fans, as you can
Yeah.
tell. Some of these people that we have got here.
John Paul, my final question. I'm sorry. I know we've taken so much of your time, but is
No,
there
it's
anything
fun.
else that you would like us to, or is there anything else that you could share, maybe that you're working on? Because I know that Hollywood is now NDA, not even city, right? It's NDA country or republic.
Right. I mean, no, I am unemployed and desperately hoping the show comes back.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's not to say I dug up an old piece of IP that no one was developing, and it was at ABC Signature, and I pitched to them, and they passed. And I work on my own things. I have other things on pitches I'm trying to get off the ground. Other pilots I'm writing. I'm working on a screenplay that I'm going to drag Kevin into with the VFX, but nothing in any sort of official. It's all this industry. It's always like the floor is lava. If you've ever played that game, you get onto a show, but every show's eventually going to end, and the lava is going to catch up with you, and it's all just trying to find that next safe harbor. But what my hope and my dream is that the next safe harbor is a season 3 of the arc. But know that for sure. And so in the meantime, I'm trying to generate my own material, my own pitches, and trying to motivate my reps to find work that, in a perfect world, would fit the gap between a season 3. But if we get a season 3, we truly don't know when it would be or how it would come.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I didn't mean to cut you off. If there's anything that we could assist in our humble way of getting word out, anytime. And we'd love to have you back. But if it's even like, hey, can you announce this? Can you talk about, dude, we'll do anything.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. And I don't want to, and this is where Dean calls me up and just don't say that. I think it was Russell T Davies, showrunner of Doctor Who said, fans shouldn't have to do anything except watch the show. It's your job is to watch and hopefully enjoy. And you should never feel the pressure to have to lobby sci-fi or the powers that be or anybody for a show. We're doing this for you guys to enjoy it, and there should be no expectation on you beyond that. That's my own personal unofficial response to anything like that.
And I thank you for that, but sorry. All right, look, even Jack is on that one.
Look, you guys are putting in your time running a podcast on the regular, and I'm sure there's money coming out of your pocket to do that. I mean, when you say you appreciate my time, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Like this is, when I'm working, this is my job, but I'm going to guess you guys might have a day job beyond running the podcast, and I apologize if I'm wrong. So, you're already doing more than you should ever have to do unless it's bringing you more joy.
It is definitely bringing us more joy.
Oh, hell yeah. Look, I mean, God, I was just a fan when I first started with these guys. They brought me on board and they said, hey, would you like to talk to the ARC? A year and a half later, I'm talking to one of the writers and co-executive producers of one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, Jag was in the chat room.
Yes.
Our
amazing
episode with Dean Devlin. He was in our chat room.
Okay, now in this case, he does deserve it. He didn't earn it. That's directed at Jag. Sorry, brother.
Yeah.
I'm bastardizing something I've heard from another writer. We're not, as writers, as people in Hollywood or the entertainment industry, we're not doctors. We're not curing cancer. At the same time, and even Dean has said something like this, people work really hard and their free time is limited. And if they're choosing, so free time is the most valuable resource we have. And if people are choosing to spend their free time with us for an hour on Wednesday nights, that's amazing. And my addition to that is we can't ask more of them than that. And then for you to then take your free time and do this podcast and get us on and talk and bring everybody, it's absolutely amazing. And so my thanks goes to you guys and everybody's taking the time to listen to me babble for however long taking the time to comment and ask questions. I mean, it's you and the fandom that are really just amazing and going above and beyond with all this.
Okay, well, you know why we do it, right? Because of what you're doing. It works that way too.
It's like a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. We are here because, look, I told Dean that episode 4 crystallized it for me in season 1 when they were talking about the Comet Water and how, it was an emotional impact. It was, life and death stuff, first 3 episodes, and then you get this. Wow. And it happened in this season as well. You get episode 4, which is deep. They all have a level.
Oh, just you wait. Just you.
Oh, there it is.
You can't give me that one picture
We
of this
will
guy.
take that.
You always ever say, "Oh man, this episode just," and then you always come back with that one evil guy that does this, and I'm like, "Oh man."
I would say they are coming.
Okay. Well,
I think we've got a couple of really good deep ones. And by the way, I'm very biased. I could be wrong. You could get to the end of the season and be like, where were they? But I think we've got a couple that are really going to.
Your track record is great as of episode 1 till now. And we'll take it. Look, the greatest disappointment of my life was when George Takei, the day before Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, premiered here in Southern California. He was on Channel 5 and he says, oh no, Channel 13, you're going to watch the greatest battle of all time. And I am in there and I saved the day. And I saw the movie, and I'm like, no. It kind of killed it for me. So,
which Star Trek 6?
Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country.
I
Don't
love
get me
Star
wrong.
Trek 6, but where was the...
That was the battle for
Exactly.
peace.
Exactly. Where
What
was,
was
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the battle for peace. You know, that one where with the Klingons.
Yeah.
But I prefer not to be spoiled, you know, in the way that I don't want to know what's coming up. Look,
I almost want to tell
it
people
was a
not to
major
watch the
moment for
trailers,
me.
but I don't think I can say that.
Look, I'm
Yeah.
not making that up. Lane's dad, man, and it's crossed out. And then it's like, Lane! With the
Yeah.
cap. That was a major dude. You got me. I don't mean to say dude to just say dude. It's
Yeah.
just wow.
I'm
Thank you.
so glad. And again, like, I don't think I can technically say don't watch the trailers, but what I would say is if you're planning on watching the show, no matter what, then try to skip the trailers. And again, I'm the guy who watches every Marvel trailer like 100 times, picking
Yeah,
them
me
apart. But I more of the same in terms of if you liked our twists in season 1, we got more twists coming for, we got 6 more episodes. And I don't think you're going to want to be spoiled.
Wow.
There you go.
That is an awesome spoiler. That will take.
Yeah, that
Yes.
you don't want to. You
If
don't
you've
really
come
wanna
to
be
expect
spoiled.
twists and turns from the arc, we're going to continue to be the arc.
There it is.
Mhm.
You heard it, folks. Any tiny comments, anything left, please fire it off in the chat room. I don't know if you saw them, but we were talking about the audience going silent. Phil was one of the first ones, still listening and enjoying.
Mhm.
Arc54 says, once again, thank you. But earlier it was, no, we're attentively listening. There were some comments in there that, no, we're paying attention. And John Paul, that's only the second time that's happened for us.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. We're, believe it or not, we all suffer from hero worship. We just contain it. And we do.
And I'm the same
we
way.
live our
I'm a
life
fan.
through
I've
you,
got my
man.
things that I'm a fandom of, and I'm on the Reddit thread for Marvel spoilers, and the Doctor Who Reddit thread, and so I tell my agents to get me a meeting Secret Hideout, which is the Star Trek people. I have my things that I love and adore, and I'm just so thrilled to be on a show like this. I should say a show like this again.
Yeah.
How lucky am I to have been on shows like this that speak to what I can do well? Some of you, it seems like, have seen Just Add Magic, which on paper does not seem like my kind of show, but is actually like the most secretly adult children's show you've ever seen. Warehouse 13. I'm just very lucky, very, very lucky.
This show has thrown me curveball after curveball, even with the trailers.
With the
and I
trailers.
loved every minute. Thanks for writing them. Yeah. Thanks for writing them. Thank you for being on with us. Sorry, Michael. I'm monopolizing.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. But I would like to say, John Paul, really, thank you for coming. I know
Thanks for
Jag
having
has
me.
been wanting you to come since season
Oh,
1.
God. Since
Yeah.
I think the show was even probably being discussed. I want John Paul. No. So,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
glad you
Thank
made
you.
time for us, John.
Of course. I'm sorry. I am very sorry it's taken me this long, and I appreciate you reaching out again, and I'm glad we could do
Well,
it.
you personified the part where it says good things come for those who wait.
Mhm.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
And the last comment we will throw up. Yeah, put it back up. I prefer to not watch the trailer and the teasers prior to watching the show, but I've got to make that sacrifice to keep giving my
Yes.
gifts to support the show, which is
Yeah.
true. And
doing the Lord's work.
yeah,
Yes.
well, he is, and he really does some good ones. And as we said, he's in Perth, Australia. I mean, he's way over there, and he's a huge fan of the Ark, along with a lot of people that come to watch our podcast when we have our guests on. And we are thankful for the fans, the guests, and everybody. We are thankful for Sci-Fi Channel, and we are thankful especially for Electric Entertainment.
Yes.
Peak NBC Universal has also said yes.
Mhm.
They were really good to us as well.
Yeah, thank
On
you,
a
guys.
personal note, John Paul, think about when you mentioned some years ago when Twitter first started. Think about even what we're doing now. It's instantaneous. I'm in Los Angeles. Jag is in Texas. Michael Day is in the nation's capital. And everyone around the world they're commenting, and they're right here. I mean, it's amazing the world we live in, man.
We live in the future, man.
Yeah,
do.
we do.
It's
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
we
no,
do.
Where's
it's-
our arc?
oh,
Yeah, where's our
our-
FDL drive?
I mean, give it a couple of years with what's the environment. But and on that note, good night.
Yes.
Bye.
Yeah, if we get our arc, it means we've screwed up.
Yeah,
Uh,
not a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
this is not,
But thank you for
this is
coming.
not a show that resulted in everything going right.
Yeah, that's
no,
right.
no,
No.
no. But anyway, thank you again for coming, and we'd love to have you back again. Everyone out in the chat room, I'm going to post something just before we leave. I had it up, and then, of course, it disappears. It's going to cover us up, but I wanted to make it big. Future guests. This is today. That was today. John Paul Nickel. Milan. Can you pronounce? Do you know how to pronounce his name correctly?
I'm going to try because I'm going to try. It's Milan Konjevic.
Yes, he will be here tomorrow. On Sunday, we have Jessica Yemi, Naomi Spencer. The 30th, we have Shalini.
Yes.
Peter Sis.
I don't know how to say her last name. I don't know how to say
I
her
know.
last
I'm
name.
not sure. We're very bad. And the same day, she's in the afternoon. And in the evening, we have India, one of the other writers. And we are so happy about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the 31st, we have Mr.
My
Trust
favorite.
himself.
Mr. Trust.
The man who the show is secretly about.
Yes.
Well, absolutely. And he says so all the time, I guess. So.
You have to tell him one of the writers is obsessed with him, and he
Yes,
I will.
we will tell him. And on September 6th, we have Pavle. We're so
Eugene.
happy that
Oh,
he's
he's
a
so good.
Felix. We're so
Yes.
happy he's going to be. And
Such
now
a
this
great
was a
actor.
surprise. I didn't think I was going to get this guy. We have Vas Batrovics,
Oh,
No, no, no.
who
It's
was
Patricevic.
Bohan, Ava's brother. So we're going to have
Mhm.
him on. And then we have Coral coming on, Lottie. We have her
Lottie.
coming on the 13th. And James DeLorean on the 15th.
Oh,
And
James.
on the
knew,
20th, we have Sandra, who is the
Mitrovic.
director of the episode that's going to be on that Wednesday before. So, as I said, and we've got more coming. And actually,
It's
Right
Madeline,
below
right?
that
Maddie's
is
name down
Madeline.
there,
right after that. So, and of
Yeah.
course, it doesn't fit. It's like I thought I'd
Yeah.
made it so it
And
fit.
folks,
but
by the way, on the
No.
23rd, Madeline, that is the day that we kick off year 17 of NDB Media. So we've
Nice.
been at it for a little
Congratulations.
while. Oh no,
Nice.
we're here because you're here. That's
And
it.
the other thing I want to say is the 30th,
you.
when we have both Shalini and I think it's India, happens to be Mom's birthday. So it's
Oh,
gonna be a
cool.
great. Yeah. So
that's cool.
she has given me permission to be on the podcast for those days.
All day.
Yeah, all day. Yeah, it's one
Yeah.
of those
She
all
says.
day
She says I
affairs.
would rather you celebrate the fan groups and the fans and the arc than to be at my birthday
Wow.
party. And we're gonna celebrate it a couple of days later. So that's a mother's love for you. So
Seriously, I'm going to make India feel bad that she's keeping you from your mother's birthday.
Yeah, but it's the way things go. But
It is
anyway,
the way it is.
And
Yeah,
by the
but-
way, good thoughts. And we wish your wife well, a quick recovery.
Yes.
Thank you.
We will be thinking about her. The fan community
Thank you.
will be as well. Thoughts
Thank
and
you.
prayers, young man, but we mean them. We don't say it just
Thank you,
to
thank
say
you.
it because
And I
if
appreciate
she's
that.
well, that means you're well. And we all win.
There
There
and,
you
you
go.
go.
and
Yeah.
when she's better, we would
Everybody
love to
wins.
have her
And-
on
and-
too. So.
Fun fact, she's my secret weapon. She reads everything I write before it goes.
There you go.
She will not let me send out an outline or a script.
Hmm.
And the only thing of mine that she's never written, I know we're wrapping up. The only thing of mine she's never read, and it was because she was at a conference in India catching food poisoning, is the season finale of this season.
Ooh.
So this is going to be the first time and then because she didn't get to read it because she was sick and everything, because she wasn't going to read it, I have told her nothing about it. So this will be the first time in my decade plus of working in television that she will not really know what's happening before the show airs. And I'm kind of excited for that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
she's
cool.
my
That's cool.
creative partner in every possible way.
That's amazing.
We thank you for sharing that. And Way to go, dude. And I mean that in every which way.
I'm lucky in every aspect of my life.
Show enough. Yep.
Well, thank you again, sir. Oh, yes, I will.
Yes.
I'll definitely Yep, definitely will.
And Nathan says he's going to drop the first one right after it. So that's going to be cool.
The next gift.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Oh, and apologies in advance. I will not be able to live tweet this week. I'm going to be on a plane.
Aw.
Yeah.
You're going to be on a
I know.
plane?
Yes, because we're going down to Dragon Con because Jenny's got some
Oh, you
panels
said
and some
that, that's
workshops,
right,
and we're
yes.
flying on Wednesday. So
Okay,
unfortunately,
we'll excuse
unless-
you, but India
But I will
maybe
be-
or Kevin maybe can kind of take over. That would
and
be
take
cool.
over. Exactly. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll miss you.
Or others, So
Yeah, we'll miss
Yeah.
you. Well, thank you again, Mr. John Paul.
Thank you,
Meckel.
guys.
So
I
glad
appreciate
that
it.
we finally got you.
I'm happy to be here. I look forward to talking at the end of the season when I cannot be so tight-lipped about everything.
That's very kind of you. We can't
yeah,
wait.
that is very kind. And
Yeah.
thank you again, everyone in the chat room, everybody that's going to watch us afterwards. Watch, tell your friends, make sure that they watch the arc. Please, we need,
Yes.
I've slipped about season 6. Jag has 4.
Yeah.
I know Roger wants 12, I'm sure.
Huh?
Yeah.
So
Hey,
yes,
47,
absolutely.
go.
I have no idea if this does anything, but I do it. If I'm going to be home and not in the room, I'll turn on Peacock and just move.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
so you're not the only one.
Okay,
You
you're
don't
not
actually
the
have
only
to
one.
watch. You can just.
Okay, you're not the only. I have the broadcast version on one TV, which is where I watch it from, and in my bedroom, I have the Sci-Fi app running it at the same time. So so
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
That's
But everyone,
the only way to do it.
on behalf of NDB Media, Talented Universe, have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow.
yes.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Thank you.